Okay, yeah, I'm live now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today we're going to be doing a debate with a very specific individual. You may have noticed that, considering the fact that it's literally in the title and thumbnail, of course. But yes, I am going to be debating somebody who, let's just say that they're not a very big fan of femboys. And, as a femboy myself, I have to wonder why, right? I thought that femboys were cool, but apparently this person disagrees with me, it seems, which is very unfortunate, I must say. It would be nice if they agreed with me, and hopefully they agree with me by the end of the debate. I don't know if they will or not. It's hard to say. They probably won't. Even though I'm right, obviously, as per usual. But, yeah, they'll call me any minute, we'll start the discussion from there. For those of you who are new here, I always try to break these into timestamps so that, they're more digestible, especially if you want to watch it in multiple sittings. It's a lot easier to do that because of the timestamps. But, yeah. As this is meant to be as entertaining as possible, even if you're watching it after the fact. Yeah, I know. It's almost like my goal is to be an entertainer for a living. Isn't that just crazy? It sure is. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing today, is the debate that you all came here for. A timestamp for when it starts, I'm sure, is in the description below by now. Or not by now. I mean, like, if you're watching this a bit after. Yeah. Alright, anyways. Wow, this is a great start to, yeah. Alright. But, yeah. So, for anybody who is, wondering, I guess, wait, I'm live, right? Hold on. Now I want to know. Oh, okay, it is public. I'm sorry. I'm very smart. I'm an absolute genius. But it seems like the notification is taking forever to get sent. That's weird. But anyways, that's really strange. That there's usually people would be tuning in by now. We're already we're like 3 minutes into it. And I guess people haven't gotten the notification yet. Oh, there we go. Hello, K_K. Welcome to the stream. It appears you are the first person in chat. Hello, Alicia. It seems like the notification just got sent, I assume. 3 minutes after I started stream, of course. As per usual, because it be like that. But that was longer than usual. But yes, hello. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I hope you enjoy your stay here. And, hello there. Hello there, Pancake Panic. General Kenobi, you are a bold one. I have to say that every single time. I do. But yeah, just a little background on, Rose Mulet, the person I'm going to be debating. She's a transmedicalist, much like Blair White. She's not exactly the same as Blair White. This is where the fun begins. So true. I will be a femboy based, but yeah, she I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like she's not a big fan of like the non-binary thing. She believes that you need to have like really severe gender dysphoria to be trans, and that everybody who's trans that doesn't literally want to chop their dick off every moment of the day, that they're just trenders. Yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting discussion. I think she considers herself to be a centrist, but she sure as hell does a lot of right-wing apologia. It's interesting how she won't offer that same level of respect for left-wingers, it seems. Though, it's hard to say. I will say, from what I have seen in terms of how she actually debates, I think she's fairly respectful, and doesn't really talk over people. But she's also pretty weaselly. So I guess we're just gonna have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna have to, you know. But yeah, she will be, okay, I'm ready. Is it okay if I'm not on cam? Yeah, that's fine. Hold on. Alright. Alright, I'll call. Oh. Well, I guess I'm in the call by myself until she joins. But, yeah. So I'm just gonna wait for her to join, and then we can begin the Femboy debate. I'm so excited. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I wonder if, I wonder, you know, if she'll have that same energy when talking to an actual femboy. Can I give you something? It depends on what it is, but the answer is probably yes, absolutely. Yes, you can give me something. I think. I don't know. I mean, if you're physically capable, then the answer is yes. It's a rose and a cute gift. Well, I don't have.
Hi.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you scared me so bad.
Oh my god,
No, no, no,
I'm
no, don't
so
worry about it. Don't
sorry.
worry about it. Oh my god. I just wasn't, like, because I didn't hear the, like, the sound of, like, you joining or whatever.
No, I understand. You were in the middle of talking and I didn't know like
Yeah,
I was
no, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Anyways,
cool.
oh my
Are you
god.
streaming on Twitch too or do you only
Yes,
have a YouTube?
I am streaming right now. So, if
What's
you
your
want,
Twitch so I can find you? I see your YouTube. I'm just curious.
I
So I
only
know.
stream on YouTube. I hate
Oh, okay,
Twitch.
cool, cool. No,
Yeah,
I feel you. I just didn't know.
yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I don't like having to have any sort of filter. I just want to say whatever I want for the most part, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's like you'll get
That
banned on Twitch. Like Vaush literally got banned on Twitch for saying cracker. Like it's like I'm not even gonna like I say way more offensive shit than that,
I
right?
believe that. I mean, yeah,
But
I understand the mindset too. I mean,
exactly.
I've been kind of afraid of Twitch too. I tried and I dabbled in it. It's just tricky. The whole live streaming thing is I it's much easier for me to pop onto other people's shows. And if at any point people are genuinely interested, and I think there's going to be like a decent audience for, me streaming on my own, then I'll start streaming on my own. I tried it a few times. I know I can do it if I really wanted to, but I just don't think it's worth the time investment. But hopefully, someday I have enough people that are willing to watch it for it to be worth it. So,
Yeah,
or maybe I just need to do it.
I mean, ultimately, it's just a matter of how much entertainment value can you provide, right? Like, it's one of those things where, in terms of the entertainment aspect of it, right? You know, even if you're not like the best public speaker right away, obviously practice makes perfect. That's
Hmm.
why I'm fairly decent at what I do because I do it all the time, right? But yeah, so uh just for my audience's sake, do you want to you consider yourself to be centrist, right?
It's funny because kind of, but also I just feel like my beliefs don't neatly fit into a political spectrum. I feel like centrist
Yeah.
kind of implies that you're like on the center, which I'm not on
No,
the
yeah, no,
center. And
not that.
anybody who knows me knows that I'm not. But it's like I'm not left, I'm not right. Leftists call me alt-righters. Alt-righters call me SJWs. I'm just kind of, in my own little space.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think that you're an alt-righter.
no,
Also,
exactly.
chat, let me know if I'm lagging at any point. Um, but yeah, okay, so, alright, so you do have interesting positions. The main thing I want to focus on is, well, you probably already know this, but trans issues, you know,
Yeah.
specifically things like non-binary, as well as
Yep.
things like you've said some very interesting things about people like drag queens and femboys and cross-dressing in
I
general.
have. Yes.
So, do you want to explain what your opinion on femboys is to my audience of probably disproportionately femboys?
Yeah, I mean, I've done this sort of thing before, so I mean, I'm aware. It's like, oh my God, Rose Mulet is a bigot and she hates blah blah blah. My position is basically this, right? I'm a trans woman. I feel like there's a lot of transphobia, and I feel like there's an environment right now where just like a lot of people don't understand me. A lot of people don't see me as like fully a woman. So like seeing a cisgender man who identifies as a man who puts on a dress and is just like, oh look at me, I'm such a cute boy. I'm such a cute man. To me, that just feels like I don't know. It feels like it's mocking me. Like maybe not intentionally. I don't think that femboys intentionally do it on purpose to mock, but I just it feels a little insulting. And it's like here I am, fighting so hard just to be seen as myself, and these people who don't have dysphoria at all whatsoever are basically, in these spaces as well. I've just always felt very uncomfortable by it. I've always felt off-putted by it. Same with drag queens and like people who claim to be part of the community, but then I feel like it spreads this propaganda that trans women are just men in dresses, and here are these men in dresses proudly proclaiming that this is exactly what they are. And I've had people say, well, it's not the femboys' fault of the misconceptions. And it's like, well, these misconceptions spread because people like that exist. And I feel like I'm being harmed by that existence. So it's kind of like it's kind of like systemic racism. It's like I don't think in a lot of ways people are like malicious on purpose, but I feel like a lot of the harm comes in ways that people don't even realize that there's a problem. People don't even realize how this stuff perpetuates. And it's like, and it sucks because
So
I know I'd always it puts me in a terrible position to be like, I am telling you that you cannot wear that dress. How dare you? It makes me look like an idiot. It makes me look like a fool. And I'm aware of this. I know exactly because people have told me this over and over again. It's like, oh, you're going to tell people that they can't do this. I'm just saying how it makes me feel, really, at the end of the day. And as a trans
okay,
woman who's transitioned at 14, just wants to be seen as normal, it's just been frustrating. And
okay,
I'm not a huge
so
fan.
okay, so I have a few questions. First of all, who do you think is more responsible for people saying that you're not a real woman and and for transphobia? Do you think it's femboys or transphobic people and conservatives?
Well, I mean, I'm very much against conservatives. I obviously,
Good.
if you were to say who is more against, I think obviously the people who are perpetuating and propagating the harm are going to be the people who are more at fault here, right? But these things can be true at once, right? You can have
N-
people who are out here actively trying to take away our rights and actively trying to do that, and that can be terrible. But I also feel like the existence of these people doesn't exactly help my case. So I'm not
So
trying to
what
say in the
exactly
sense
does my so hold on. How does my existence make your case any worse?
it's a subtle thing. It's not a thing that you can easily like go and point to and say, haha, this is exactly what is happening. It's more of a cultural and societal thing that has happened over time, right? The existence of
So
drag
do you
queens as a
think
cultural phenomenon has perpetuated society's opinions on what trans people are. The existence of people like this has kind of negated or kind of tainted what trans people are seen as by the public. And again, it's not a malicious thing by intent, but it's a
all right.
thing
So
that we know is
I want to
happening.
respond to this. I don't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah, you're
a
good.
lot of the time you get a little bit rambly. It's okay. Happens to
I
the
do
best
get
of us.
rambly. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm totally. You're right about
Yeah,
this.
I
So
no, I get
I'll
it. I'm fucking autistic. But what I will say is, no offense, but this is a fucking terrible point. It's tantamount to me, going up to you and saying, "Hey, dude, by the way, uh, you gotta stop with that whole trans thing, because it's making the rest of the gay community look bad. You mind not doing that? Because I don't want to get lumped in with weirdos like you who mutilate their bodies and groom children. You're
yeah,
appealing to
I do.
optics in that same way. Why is that argument categorically different from what you are currently saying?
No, no, I think you actually make a good point, and it's something that I've heard in the past, and it's a very interesting point to make, right? So obviously you have
Mm-hmm.
these conservatives, and you have these people on the right who are basically like, well, I'm gay, and you make my movement worse. You're making this blah blah
Yup.
blah. My opinion, and what I think makes this separate, is like as trans people who are suffering with general, dysphoria and stuff. we're the people who are being like we're being targeted against the most, right? There's no argument when it comes to
No,
gay
we're
versus
all
trans
being
people.
targeted
Yes.
against.
Okay, but
We're
like,
all
come on,
being
let's
targeted. Wait, hold on.
let's be honest.
Non-binary
Let's be
people are
honest.
targeted against just as much, are they
Well,
not?
I'm not
If
explicitly
not more.
non-binary phobic, but I mean, that's
Well,
to me that's like a whole
or
separate
femboys.
thing.
Femboys are targeted.
I don't think so. Here's the thing you don't understand. Like femboys, the idea of like a man wearing a dress, like I think conservatives cringe at that, but I don't think there's the same amount of like toxic. And here's the funny thing, because I see a lot of TERFs and a lot of people who are fine with like gay men for the reason of, oh well, they're they're just wearing dresses. At least they don't think they're women. There's so much this idea that a lot of TERFs are even like pro-gay and they're totally fine with it, but they see trans as like this whole separate kind of different thing. And it's
Sure,
kind of like hard to explain, but you have to
you could
understand that
argue.
trans.
Well, hold on. You could argue that maybe in some regards, femboys aren't discriminated against nearly as much, right?
Yeah,
However, what I will say is that,
because I take
it's
hormones and
still
shit. I have to go through like
well,
so much of my.
I also started taking hormones recently. I'm an HRT
Interesting.
femboy, so there's that, or I'm becoming one,
So
right?
so then why? And this is not like a dab at you. I'm genuinely just curious because I've never heard this before from like. So then why would you take HRT and why would you consider yourself non-trans? Like why do you identify as?
All right. I think okay. We're live again. We're live again. Sorry about the lag. I
Yeah.
think the last thing we were talking about that they got to see was the HRT femboy thing. And then we talked a little bit after that. But yeah, sorry about the lag. Chat, let
I
me
didn't miss
know if it
anything.
keeps lagging. All right. Yeah, it was mainly just her wanting to make a point, but then forgetting what it was. But
And I remembered. So it's
oh,
perfect. It worked out.
wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Can I say the point and then I'm gonna ask you to repeat the last thing you said, which is perfect anyway. Is that okay?
Sure. I don't
So you
remember.
were saying
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you were mentioned just before about like being non-binary and like presenting as like a femboy and stuff, and how you really don't care about like what people refer to you as. And I just find that interesting because that's something that I do genuinely notice within non-binary spaces, and I've noticed with talking to a lot of people. And to me, that just kind of it just kind of emphasizes the difference between like trans and non-binary people. Like it's easy for someone who, doesn't have a strong attachment to gender to be like, oh yeah, I don't care what you call me. And to me, that's just such a, like, I respect non-binary people and what it is. I just think it's a different thing. And it's like, it's to someone who doesn't have that association with gender, doesn't care what they're called versus someone like me or someone who's like trans, and
Hold
has
on.
such a strong feeling of
This is
what,
a categorical error you're making. So the problem here is you are taking a subcategory of a broader category and then saying that it is its own separate category and doesn't fit under the broader category of trans. Now, you can break down the category of transgender and so you can yeah, so you can take that category and break it down. Okay, here are people with gender dysphoria that are trans. Here are people without gender dysphoria. You can break it down that way. Here are binary trans people and non-binary trans people. But they're all trans, right? They don't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth, right?
um, what do you mean? Like non-binary people don't. So that's the thing. It's like, I feel like
Were they
non-binary
assigned? Well, hold
people.
on. Were they assigned non-binary at birth?
No, but the thing is, like with a trans person, it's like male to female, female to male. Non-binary doesn't really have that destination point. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like some
doesn't have
people
to be
want
a
to go as
destination point.
neutral, but they're not
A person.
transitioning to like a different gender. It's like the absence of
So
gender. It's like calling atheism a religion. I mean, like
no,
to me,
you are conflating trans being transgender with being transsexual. Okay, being transsexual is like the actual process of transitioning, as you've described.
yeah,
Gender.
and that I'm someone who
Well, hold
believes
on.
that I'm transsexual, and I love
Yeah.
that word.
So, but transgender, whether or not you are trans, is not determined by whether or not you go on HRT or get bottom surgery. Because at the end of the day, gender denotes your internal perception, right? It is the mental, psychological aspect of it, not the physical one. right? Well, I mean, in terms of like how it aligns with you physically, maybe to an extent, but still, does that make sense?
I kind of get what you're saying. I just feel like when it comes to like being transsexual, I think it's important to have that distinction. But also, would you consider yourself transgender? Because like
Yeah.
non-binary, transgender, so do you consider yourself non-binary trans? Is that like the label? Like you consider non-binary to be a part of trans? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's under the trans umbrella.
Under the okay. So I just disagree with the framing. Is essentially what's going on here. Like I understand the framing because I know a lot of other people subscribe to that. I personally don't because I view the differences between non-binary and transsexual to be so different that I don't believe that they should be under the same category.
Well, if you want to make a categorical distinction there, rather than saying that they aren't under the same category, you can just use subcategories, right? For instance, a category that we would all fit under would be human, right? But let's say
Well,
we want
duh.
to break it up in terms of sex. Okay, well, most people are male or female. I mean, there's intersex people as well, right? So those would be subcategories of human. The same thing applies to transgender. It's an umbrella term. There are subcategories to it, right? You could break it into binary trans people and non-binary trans people, or you could break it up in terms of uh, trans people that do seek medical intervention versus those who do not, right?
I mean, so with trans people, I believe that there's reasons why someone who's like a transsexual would not receive gender. Like some people don't have the access to because their parents don't, they're not letting them or they can't afford it or there's many barriers that would allow somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody's going to go out of their way and say, I'm trans, I don't want to specifically take hormones. I'm actually fine if people misgender me. Then I have a few questions there. And it's to me, that's not the same experience. So it's like that
Okay,
person could be transgender, but they're not
but
transsexual.
yes, that's the point I'm making, is that they are transgender but not transsexual. And obviously, no, their experiences aren't going to be exactly the same as yours, all right? For instance, I probably don't experience as much gender dysphoria as you do, or at least did. I don't know how much you
Yeah.
currently experience because you've transitioned. You look like a cisgender woman, to
Thank
me at
you.
least. So for instance, things like facial hair make me dysphoric. Um, I
So you do have
feel
dysphoria.
to an extent, but it's mild dysphoria, right? It's
Okay.
not something so severe where I constantly want to chop my dick off at all times, right? I don't mind having a dick, right? I don't care. Um, so there's
I
sort
acknowledge
of,
that people like you exist. I acknowledge that
yeah.
it's a real thing. Like I'm not denying that.
Okay, good.
I it's just a different experience. And I don't think that should be controversial. I mean, we are both aware of this. I think we're really just getting into like a nuance of technicalities and I don't really
Sure.
think there's like a point to it? It's like are we just
Sure,
going to
but the
argue, yeah, we agree on what these things are. We agree that there are distinctions, but it's just like, oh, is this a subcategory or its own category? And I don't think that has like a lot of like, what's the point?
well, if you're going to categorize things or say that somebody doesn't belong to a certain category and I disagree with you, I'm going to mention the fact that I disagree with you there, right? But
Yeah.
I guess we could pivot
Do
onto
you want to go
something
back to the thing you were saying about the conservatives and stuff?
um oh, what was oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the
She made a good point
analogy.
though.
Yeah, the point I made was you being against cross-dressing, for instance, um you know or certain, the more, I guess you could say, weird trans people or transgenders, whatever you want to call them, um when you saying that their existence is harmful to you because people will use their existence as an argument against you is again a terrible argument, because It's literally no different from, if I were to say that, oh, well, you should stop being trans, you should detransition because we don't want to be associated with weirdos like you. We don't want to be associated with groomers who mutilate their bodies and groom kids, right?
Yeah.
So those arguments, the only reason why those two arguments would categorically be different is if you believe there is some sort of valid criticism against, whatever it be, maybe certain non-binary people that are trans but don't have dysphoria, you name it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that there is like a valid, and I've explained this, and I can, of course, go into more detail if that's what you want. But like I said, I feel like when it comes to the issue of like gay people saying like, the gays against groomers or LGB without the T or whatever, I mean, these are people who are weaponizing their status as being gay as essentially to, say that they're against the trans movement, and it's,
Are you
making
not
gays look
doing the
bad.
same? Are you not doing the
So
exact same thing?
So what I first want to mention is the fact that gay people in society, of course, it's not like perfect, people still struggle and stuff, but the gay movement has made a lot of progress. There are so many rights that gay people have that they did not have, just 10, 20 years ago. There's been many strides, man. I mean, it was just legalized less than a decade ago, and look at how far
Yeah.
society has gone.
So,
That
okay,
movement
then
has been
I
extremely
have a
successful.
question. I have a question. So, was it okay for, whatever, like 20 or 30 years ago, for gay people to, uh, you know, basically, you know, fuck over trans people? Was it okay back then?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because it's clear to me that trans people are severely discriminated against in a way that, as much as gay people are discriminated against, trans people, I think most people can agree, are discriminated to a far greater level. And that has been overlooked and sidestepped for many years. I think when it comes to people like
Wait, hold on.
femboys,
Hold on. Are gender non-conforming people discriminated against uh less than gay people?
I don't, to be honest, I don't know. I feel like the
You
discrimination of
don't
non-binary,
know.
I feel like maybe. I feel like maybe it's about the
Maybe.
same, honestly.
So
It's
you
about
believe
probably.
probably the same.
About I think
So
if
you
a man
believe
wears a
that, wait,
dress, like
hold
people
on.
give side eyes, but they're not gonna like treat that guy with like as much vile or vitriol as they would with a trans woman. Like I
Okay.
think that's just the way
So,
society is. Like there's a lot of people who can be like, oh yeah, wear whatever you want to wear. But if their own child is trans, it's grooming the children. It's
okay.
all of this rhetoric that's
Sure, but
extreme. I
okay,
think
so
we can
all right.
acknowledge that, right? There's this idea
Yeah,
that if you're
yes.
not, you're not going
Yes,
to
but
hormones.
wait, hold on. Fuck, I lost my train of thought.
I'm
Um
sorry.
oh, God, there was something
Okay.
about something about femboys. Oh, right. I have a question. Uh, who do you think gets discriminated against more? A gay person who tries to fit into society and looks and acts like a straight person, or somebody who cross-dresses, is very flamboyant and acts very stereotypically gay, wears makeup, skirts, and thigh highs?
Um, I think, if you were to look at like, do the people know that the person is gay in the case of the person acting normal, or is this person like a closeted gay?
They're not
Because I feel like that makes a
closeted.
difference. Okay, they're not closeted. In the sense, I feel like a straight I really do think like it genuinely depends on the situation. I don't think there's a clear cut answer, honestly. I
It
don't think I
depends
can
on the
give.
situation.
No,
You don't.
I truly think so.
I mean,
I mean,
sure,
in
but
a
isn't
lot
this
of
just a
cases,
way of
people are
avoiding
gonna.
what would happen most of the time?
I feel like in a
Do
lot of
you really
situations,
think that somebody who
people.
fits into society and pretty much blends in, even if they have been open about their sexuality, is going to get more shit than somebody who stands out?
I think probably in most situations, the person who acts flamboyant, the flamboyant behavior is going to turn off a lot of people, even if the person is straight. But there are also societies and cultures where people are fine with, men acting feminine as long as they're not
Uh-huh.
actually gay. I would assume that the majority of the instances
Sure.
probably it would be the case.
Okay, we're
But
talking about well, I'm referring
yeah, no,
to
no, then you have your
the
answer. Then you
American
have your answer.
culture,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's a broad thing, and I don't think there's a clear-cut answer, but if the majority of the time we can agree on what the answer is, fine. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you would agree that in this country, somebody like a drag queen would be more likely to get discriminated against than a gay guy who acts and looks and sounds like a straight person.
Well, there's a lot of nuance there because when it comes to like a drag queen, is this drag queen wearing drag every single day in their life? Because I feel like drag queens oftentimes
I'm
live the
talking
majority of
about
their life
on
as women. That's
average.
why they're drag queens. No, I'm
I
when I'm saying
Yes, there's going to be instances where, oh, well, technically, what about this one hypothetical scenario
no,
in
no, no.
which
What I'm
they would
saying is
actually,
you're bringing up a very specific hyper scenario where a femboy would be specifically more targeted than a gay person. When in majority, someone like a
no,
drag queen
no,
is
I'm doing
only
the
performing
opposite.
in
I'm not
drag.
giving a hyper-specific example. I'm,
No,
I'm,
no.
I'm asking you, a very simple question. Who do you
Well, based
think,
on the hypothetical you put.
the hypothetical I put, on average, who do you think would get discriminated against more? A gay person who, isn't closeted, but acts normal or whatever, fits into society, acts like a normal straight dude, etc. Or somebody
Yeah.
who is very flamboyant, a man who's very flamboyant, they are of an undisclosed sexuality, they're wearing makeup, they're wearing women's clothing.
No, no,
Who do
I
you
know, I know what you're saying, and I generally agree with the point you're making. I just feel like the way that it's framed is framed in a certain way
no,
to try to make a point.
I think you're just dodging. I think you're weaseling.
No, I gave you the answer. I
No, you
told you what I
didn't.
thought. Yes, I
No,
did.
you dodged the question. You're like, well, it depends on the situation, lol.
I
That's
mean,
not an
it is
answer.
it's a nuanced situation,
It
but
do-
yeah, if you want me to
I
give you a
agree that
definitive
it
answer, then I
depends on the
guess.
situation, but we're not talking about an individual situation. We are talking about what would happen on average, okay?
Okay, then if you're talking about an average, then probably the person who is more flamboyant will be discriminated against. Okay, that's
Yes.
the answer, and I agree with
Good.
you.
Wow. Finally. It's about
No,
time.
no, but I feel like I basically said that. I mean, if that's what
No,
you
you
needed, then
didn't.
fine.
You
I'll
were
say
you
that.
were dodging, but it's
Well,
okay. It's okay.
I
It's all right.
said
You
it.
gave me the answer
Why
now.
not?
No need to harp on it, all right? So
Okay.
you agree then. All right.
In this
So,
specific case, yeah, but
okay. So, well, I would say that that would apply broadly, right? Because being
I
flamboyant is
don't think
not
it does.
inherent to being gay, for instance, right?
No, it's
Being
it's not.
feminine
It's not.
is not inherent
But
to
do you
being
think?
gay. So it would be the fact that a man is effeminate or not traditionally masculine in whatever way, that would be the main cause for them being discriminated against.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, come on. You first of all, someone being gay on its own is a well enough of a cause for people to be discriminated, even if they do act hyper masculine. You can't deny that they do get
Sometimes,
discriminated a lot. Yeah, like
not to the same
you
extent
know.
that someone like me, for instance, would get discriminated against.
Well, I don't know, your story. I don't know your life. I don't know how
Okay.
much you've been
Well, all
discriminated
right.
against. I don't
So
want to make
so
claims.
I'll give a brief summary, all right? Um, when I've been out as bisexual for ages. For whatever, since my freshman year in high school. I'm 19 now. I've graduated high school a while ago, basically. Um, and essentially, how much pushback did I get for coming out as bisexual? Not really any. Not on the internet, not in person, none of that.
Yeah, because like I said,
Nobody
I
accused
literally
me. Nobody accused me of being a groomer. Nobody said I was
yeah, because the
degenerate.
gay community is so much far ahead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But as soon as I started wearing certain clothes, and presenting a certain way, suddenly people on the internet seem to have a problem with me. Do you think that it just so happens that conservatives suddenly accidentally stumbled upon my internet presence when I became a femboy? Or do you think that maybe they have more of an issue with femboys, for instance, than, let's say, I don't know, bisexual people broadly?
Can I tell you what I personally think? And this is just my
Yes,
opinion. But
sure.
I truly believe the reason that you got more hate is because people tended to lump you in with the crowd of being trans, right? People see like a man dressing super feminine and they view that as, the same way they would view a trans woman. So that's why you're getting like
I don't
transphobia
disagree.
by
Yeah,
proxy. So
sure.
like that's
I
what's
don't I
happening.
don't
And
disagree
okay,
that I
so
don't
so we
disagree
agree.
with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree that yes, a conservative
And
sees
you don't have to be
they
trans to
see,
experience
yeah, well, they
transphobia by
see,
proxy.
right. Yeah, a conservative does not make a categorical distinction
Yeah, because they
between
don't
a
know what the difference
transgender
is, and
person.
that's kind of the point I
Well,
was
a lot
making
of them know
before.
what the difference is. They just don't care.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
so, I mean, some people are ignorant, sure, but a lot of them, what they believe is that, all of them are just men in dresses, right? That's what they believe, and
And
that
that's the problem
all
that
trans men
I'm
are
explaining.
just tomboys with daddy issues or whatever. What,
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly my issue,
sure,
though. That's the
sure,
thing
but
that I don't.
me,
You know what I'm
okay,
saying?
right, but me being a femboy, all right. And let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say that I don't consider myself to be non-binary. I only use he, him pronouns right now for the sake of argument, okay? So, if the only reason, which you have explicitly stated, the only reason that I'm getting way more hate now is because I'm perceived as trans, then why would you make an argument against femboys existing? Because
So,
because they're not using me as a reason to hate you. They would be using you as a reason to hate me.
so what I'm saying is like people have misconceptions of trans people due to certain issues, and the point is that they see, and that's what I said before, is that they see men in dresses, and then here's somebody who is a man, someone who identifies as a man in a dress, and it kind of reinstates. Like for instance, I'll give it to you this way. A lot of conservatives, what they like to do is they like to highlight certain examples of trans women acting bad or acting like predatory or acting grooming. And you can
Mm-hmm.
argue about the legitimacy of the point. The point is they like to take examples of trans people who fit their narrative, who fit what they
Yep.
tend to think trans people. It's a very invalid, like it obviously
I
isn't
agree.
accurate at all, but they do that because it validates in their mind, and that way they don't have to ever be challenged or they don't ever have to be disproven. And I believe that in a way, the same thing kind of rings true to a lesser extent, to a less extreme extent when it comes to like femboys and stuff, right? They'll see, people like you, and then they'll be like, oh, so, trans people, they don't even need hormones because I mean, look at this people, they just see themselves as men anyway. It's like, oh, so this whole trans thing is fake anyway. Look, this person is apparently trans and they're saying that they're a man and they're happy wearing a dress. So this whole thing is
Well,
fake anyway. I'm not saying that I
no,
do because obviously I don't.
that's you.
But a lot of these people feel that
That's a
way.
bit of a stretch. That even most conservatives, I don't think, yeah, I don't think most conservatives would even argue that. They would at least, understand that from our perspective, we make an obvious categorical distinction. If they see one example of a person identifying as a man but cross-dressing, they're not gonna immediately think that all trans women actually identify as men. They're going to understand that there is some difference. Now, they can pretend like it's not an obvious difference there, but no matter what, no matter how much you care about optics, they're gonna lie, they're gonna, twist the truth, they're gonna find whatever, one example of a trans person who just so happens to be a bad person, and extrapolate that onto all other trans people, right? It doesn't matter how much you care about optics. So maybe rather than trying to lick the boots of conservatives and trying to convince them that, oh, I'm one of the good ones, I promise. I'm one of the good trans people. I'm not like those weirdos. Maybe instead of doing that,
Okay.
maybe acknowledging the fact that, you know, gender abolition is pretty based, I'm not gonna lie. I think maybe that's where we want to take the discussion.
I think that is definitely where we should take the discussion. If you don't
Absolutely.
mind me saying a few things real quick. So
Go for
I
it.
just think it's clear to me that they don't see the nuance, right? I would assume you don't think that I see the nuance that you do. I'm not saying, any specific generalities. I just tend to believe that kind of the premise of the debate is because you think that I don't understand certain things about your identity or people like you,
Not
right? So if you think,
necessarily.
okay, I'm just saying a lot of, maybe not you, but I feel like a lot of people tend to think that, right? And if people think that about me, then what about somebody who I have to deal with this shit every day of my life, right? I'm exposed to trans issues constantly. Somebody
Me
who's
too.
not isn't isn't going to understand, the full nuance or the distinctions. I mean, I had a professor in class one time who just assumed that like all trans people went by they them, and they corrected me, a trans person, for speaking out because she didn't know I was trans, obviously, and it was
Okay,
like the cringiest thing. I know this is like an extreme example, but I just
sure,
like
but
these little things
that's
that
an
I
easy
see. I'm
see,
just
but that's
like,
such an easy thing to fix. Like, if somebody is doing that in good faith and they are genuinely unaware, it takes like whatever, a 2-minute explanation to make them aware.
yeah,
But
but that's
and that's
like on an
obviously different
individualistic
from
level.
arguing with like but like those people aren't really the problem most of the time.
No, no, I know, but the problem is that this is happening on a societal level, and even if the people who are in good faith or, aren't being malicious are having these misconceptions, now imagine the misconceptions the people who are in bad faith have. The people that don't even want to listen, who aren't even trying to learn. They
Yeah,
are actively
I
looking
am
for
aware.
reinforcement bias.
No,
So, I
I
mean, these
agree.
things
Yeah, I
clearly
I
do
debate
exist.
Nazis all the time. So I there's nothing that like
Yeah.
there's nothing about that I can't empathize with, right? I obviously engage in a lot of trans discourse. I just look at my channel page for 5 seconds and you'll
Look,
come to
I
that
believe you.
realization very quickly,
I haven't watched
right?
any of your
So,
videos, but yeah.
yeah. So, all right. So, um all right, good. Well, what utility does forcing people or even pressuring them to fit into these arbitrary categories that we have made as a society, what utility does that serve?
So it's funny you mentioned this, and I'm going to go a little bit back to what you said because you were claiming that I was bootlicking conservatives, and maybe there was a point in time in my life where I was, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say that I think my general concern and my concern is for transsexual women. My priority is to make sure because we are specifically extremely targeted. We're in an extremely bad place, and I just want to make sure that we're okay. And anything that I see that could be you know harm contributing to the harm, I want to make sure that that's not the case. When it comes to transphobes on Twitter, I hate turfs. Like, I hate them
Me
so
too.
fucking much.
I
And
bully
I
them all the
literally,
time.
yeah, and I'm the same way, right? So like
Yeah.
if I was somebody who was, just trying to please the right, I would be one of those people that's like, well, actually JK Rowling did nothing wrong. And I fucking hate those people because I think
Correct.
JK Rowling is
I
just
don't
a
think you're
transphobe.
I don't think you're the same as Blair White, for instance. I
Yeah,
think that
no, yeah,
there's some similarities, right? But when I say
I can acknowledge
when I
that.
said you were, you know, bootlicking the right in many instances, um I'm not saying that you are constantly, advocating for what they believe or defending turfs, right? But
Hmm.
it seems like there's like a little bit too much, like you engage in right-wing apologia a little bit more than you should, or maybe you've stopped doing that. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I
Well,
mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I'm kind of left wing on some issues and right wing on others. That's just how I am.
Sure.
I don't claim to be either politically. I
I
just, my
Yes, I
beliefs tend to
agree.
vary on stuff, and I think I mentioned at the
True.
beginning of the debate. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie and say like, oh, I don't have any right wing beliefs. I don't agree with right wingers on some stuff because I do, and I'm
Sure.
open about the fact that I do. But I'm also very
Sure, that's
left wing
fair.
on other issues. So you know,
I'm very left wing on most issues, but like yeah, for instance,
and that's
I'd say
understandable.
I'm probably more right wing when it comes to uh guns. But I don't want to. I know
That's
you're
so
more.
funny because
I
I am
know.
the
I
left wing
know
on
you're more
that.
left wing on that. I
It's
saw the
so
debate with
funny.
Vaush. I saw the debate with Vaush. I don't want to talk about guns.
No, we don't have to.
It's
We don't
yeah.
have
It's not
to.
my.
I just think
I'm
it's
not. I
funny.
don't.
But a
I'm
lot of
not
leftists
that good
are
at
like
debating
complete
that.
opposite about guns. I just find that to be so
Yeah.
funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
That's a whole
yeah.
nother
So
topic.
yeah. So I want to get back on topic. So
Let's do that.
why should people be forced or pressured into these arbitrary categories that we recognize as gender? What
Yeah,
utility does it serve?
so I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I think the more that I think about this, the better and more nuanced my positions tend to be. So, first of all, I don't believe in any like insane law that's like banning or forcing people to wear the article of clothing they identify as. I just think that any kind of law that would force people to dress a certain way is just insane. It would do more harm than good. The kind of thing that I would want is kind of like a societal pressure thing, right? And it's kind of more of an idealistic thing than a kind of reality because anything that in realistically would kind of do that would kind of wind up harming trans people as a byproduct, even if they had
Okay.
no intention of doing so. I would just prefer if we lived in a world that was like, hey, if you identify a certain way, these articles of clothing are good identifiers for are you a woman? Oh, you're wearing a dress. Okay, therefore I can tell that you want to be seen as a woman. And I'm not gonna ask your pronouns because you're wearing a dress. So I know that you want to be seen as feminine.
So
That kind
wait.
of thing.
So or couldn't you just ask them how they identify? Like it
Yeah, so
and also what if a woman, trans or cisgender doesn't matter, just decides to wear sweatpants and a hoodie? What gender would people classify them as then? Right? Like this
so
doesn't
first
really
of
make
all,
any
yeah.
sense.
So I think sweatpants and hoodie in a lot of instances is much more seen as gender neutral than like something like a dress is. I
So
think
would
there's
they be
certain male
seen as
clothing that
non-binary or like this
I
is
think if somebody
like
like there are a lot of aspects of somebody that could be like, female presenting, they're just like wearing that kind of clothing. But if you see like a butch lesbian, it's obvious that that butch lesbian is trying to be seen as like masculine. So like those are different things, if you know what I'm
how
saying.
though? How is a butch lesbian, with like a buzz cut or whatever, who dresses masculinely, categorically different from a femboy?
No, I'm saying that's different from like someone who wears like sweatpants, right? Like someone who wears
No, oh,
sweatpants.
okay. No, actually,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
fair enough. But
Yeah.
I still think that the question is a good question.
Okay. What's the
Or do
question?
you believe that they're categorically the same?
What specifically?
Uh, do you okay? So in terms of, so you're saying that the clothes that people wear should, um, people should be pressured to wear clothes that, um, align with whatever gender they are. So, would you apply the same standard to butch lesbians? And if not, why? Why would you apply it to femboys but not butch lesbians?
So here's the thing. Whenever I come out, I know that this puts me in a position where a lot of people kind of turn against me, and I can understand it. I'll bite the bullet, right? I
Mm-hmm.
genuinely do tend to believe that, but at the same time, I also recognize that like something like that is probably never going to happen, and it probably just wouldn't wind up happening. I just know that that kind of thing
So
would benefit me, and it would make me,
wait, hold on,
better off.
wait, hold on. When you say, wait, no, but you didn't answer the question specifically the way I asked it. I asked,
Sure.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So, I'll reiterate. So you said that. So obviously, you believe that people's clothing should denote their gender. So, um, would you? So you apply this standard, as an argument against femboys, right? So would you argue against butch lesbians, dressing and acting masculinely? And if not, why is that categorically different?
Yeah, so I think that when it comes to like butch lesbians, like it's never never a good thing to be in the, side of, like, telling people what they can and can't do. So I don't go as far as to, like, subject people into, like, forcing them. I'm just saying it would personally make me feel more comfortable if people did. Like, there's a way to, like, I'm fine with people expressing themselves in a way that makes them feel genuine. But, like, if you're someone who
Uh-huh.
identifies as a woman but exclusively wears male clothing, I feel like that kind of crosses a line to me. And I'm
That
not saying that
crosses
as
a
all.
line? By
Yeah,
what's
if you're
what line is that?
so I've explained this before, right? But if you're someone who's a woman, right, and you wear exclusively clothing that, like, is a man, and you're kind of so butch that you're indistinguishable from someone who's like a trans man, I feel like that's harmful to, like, trans people, right? Because, like, as a trans person,
No.
you just want to be seen, and so that this goes back to what you were saying about the pronoun thing, right? And it's what I wanted to get to,
Sure,
what's
yeah.
so harmful about asking people their pronouns? And the answer is, like, if you're a trans woman and someone says to you, "Hey, what are your pronouns?" Right? Well, that's a key point that I don't pass, and now my day is ruined. And now I'm just, like, sitting here because I have so much dysphoria. I'm sitting here upset because, oh no, somebody thinks that I'm a man. Somebody thinks that I look
So
masculine because they don't ask
this
these people those questions.
so basically what you were
And that's
saying is that you immediately, you know, jumping to the worst case scenario as your conclusion, and that your cognitive distortions
well, no, these things have
should be what.
happened. These things do
Yeah,
happen all
well,
the
no,
time,
no,
and you
well,
can
hold
talk
on,
to
hold on.
trans
If
people.
somebody asks you what your pronouns are, that does not mean that you don't pass, right?
Well, it means that they think so, usually. I mean, not
No.
always, but in a lot of cases, it does provide a lot of
In
distress because
some
a lot of
cases, maybe.
because, like, if
But
somebody is
maybe,
think of it this
but
way,
there's a good
if
chance that if they
somebody's
ask
pronouns
you, then they would probably ask most people, right?
that's and I understand why you would say this, but think of it this way. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody is, like, obviously a cisgender woman, is extremely female, then there's no point of asking, right? There are
Maybe.
people who you see and it's like, "Oh, yeah, that person is just like a woman," right? Then
No, not
if someone is
necessarily.
asking if
I
someone
would
is
be more.
asking,
Hold on.
that
Hold
implies
on.
that it's
I would be.
unsure or that you
Hold
don't
on. No, you
know,
said something
which
wrong
implies that
because.
you don't pass.
Hold on. You said something wrong. Okay. No. In terms of cisgender women, I would be more likely to ask a cisgender woman who has dyed hair or in like an alt aesthetic, right? What their pronouns are than somebody who looks like you.
Okay?
So,
Well, because I
yeah,
pass really well, right? But not everyone's as fortunate
sure.
as me.
Well, when people, if people aren't able to pass as well, that's the point of asking, to make sure. And
Well, to me, it's like if
if that
someone
gives
is
them dysphoria, what that means is that they should probably pursue medical transition.
no, I agree that they should pursue medical transition, but
Okay,
there's
well then
people who
that would be
transition late,
the
and even
solution.
no, but what you don't understand is there are people who can take medical transition and just aren't as lucky. They can't pass as well. They have a very clockable voice, or certain facial aspects because they transition past puberty. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's something that even after, like, surgeries and stuff, there's just unfortunately some people who don't pass. And it's if we
Okay,
lived in a world where the obvious thing of dress equals female, right? Presenting female, you want to be seen as a woman instead of that person's wearing a dress. Let me ask them their pronouns. It's just kind of a stupid thing to do. It's like, what do you think they want to be called? Like, you think they're
so wait, how would
him
this
wearing a
reduce
dress?
their gender dysphoria though? That's what I'm failing to understand, because at
Because
the end
they
of the
wouldn't be
well,
clocked
hold
as
on, wait, I
often.
want to
They
explain, I
wouldn't be
want to
like, oh,
elaborate.
you're
Wait,
trans. Are you
hold on,
trans? All the
hold on.
time. It sucks.
Well, hold on. If somebody, if the, if a trans people aren't stupid, okay, they know if they tend to know if they do or don't pass, right? There might
Well,
be
yeah,
like
I
some
know.
there's some gray area, but like generally speak, like you have some idea, right? So
Okay, but
let's
you
say,
you
well, hold
under
on, whoa, hold on. So if somebody with a very masculine jawline, facial structure, who is 6'5", who has a 5 o'clock shadow, who is a trans woman, is wearing a dress, okay, she would know that the only reason people would be referring to her as a woman is because of her clothing, and that they don't actually see her that way any more than if, they were to ask for her pronouns, right? Are you
Well, I
aware
mean,
of that?
you can be like aware of like a certain status, like people who know they don't like pass super duper well. I mean, people want to believe they pass, obviously, and if they can't believe, obviously there's going to be some doubt. But like in the same way that like I'm overweight, right now, like I definitely need to lose weight, But if somebody came up to me and said, "Wow, you're really fat. Wow, you're obese. Oh my god," like my day would be ruined.
Nope.
It would be like a really
False
shitty thing, and I
equivalency.
would like.
That's a false equivalency. Okay.
Well, I'm
The
just using it
equivalent. Well,
as an
hold on. The
example.
equivalent to that would be if
I
I were to go
know
up
that I'm
to a,
overweight,
no,
but I
well,
would
hold
still.
on. Wait. Hold on. Let me make the counter argument. The equivalent to that would be if I were to go to a trans woman who doesn't pass very well, and I were to start talking about how, oh, you look like a man, right? Oh, by the way, you're a man. You look like a man. Whatever, right? That would be the equivalency there, right?
Yeah,
But like,
but
let's say, but if someone were to ask you about your diet or something, would you take offense to that?
well, what I'm saying is, if somebody goes to like a trans woman and says like all trans women to themselves kind of think they don't pass. We all have brain worms, we call it. We all have these kind of feelings of like, oh, I look like a man, I sound like a man. But like, there's a different
To an
level of like,
extent.
oh shit, other people think I look like a man. Other people think I sound like a man. That's like a
No,
different
that
thing,
is
and it's
you.
saying.
That is
No, I'm
you and
saying
your
as a
cognitive
trans woman,
distortions.
and ask other
Your
trans women,
cognitive
it's
distortions.
so much
Hold on.
more to hurt from comes from other people. I'm telling you this.
Okay, so no, you having cognitive distortions and immediately jumping into conclusions that you don't pass because somebody asked you for your pronouns should not be something that dictates how society operates, or nor does it mean that society would be better off, if even in theory, if it were to operate that way.
Well, I'm speaking for myself, right? And maybe for other trans people who can relate to me in this aspect, that like I said, I can only say this is just how I feel, right? I have no power in making society a certain way. All it really is
Sure.
saying, hey, this is a thing that's going on. I personally think I would be better off if it was like this, knowing far well that, the gender
And
neutral, the
that's
gender abolitionist
that
people are going to
right
win
there.
out.
That right there is the problem. You're stuck in the mindset of what would make you better off. What do you want? What makes you?
Yeah, because like trans people are super oppressed against right now, and I just want a world
Are
where we're like
you the only
better
trans
off.
person in all of mankind? Or are you just a one of millions of trans people with one of
No,
millions
but
of perspectives?
there's certain classifications, and I tend to value transsexuals like me, people who have like a similar experience to me, and I want people like me to live in a better world where people can accept us. Of course, I want other groups to be accepted, but like as someone like I want my group to be.
But you're
You know,
okay
I
walking over,
advocate.
you're okay walking all over other groups so long as it means that
No,
your group gets to thrive, right?
what I'm saying is that my priority is transsexuals. Like I care about other groups. I'm just saying that my number one priority is me. Like not this like someone who, is of a different minority group can care for other minority groups, but it's not going to be the same as like the group that they're a part of. As much as they can
All right.
care about other stuff, it won't impact them as personally. It won't be as much a priority because it's not something that they personally face.
Okay,
I
so
care.
do you believe that advocating for transsexual women, and that not talking shit about femboys, do you believe that those are mutually exclusive, or can you just not, or if you care more about transsexual people and that's your priority, maybe you could talk about transsexual people specifically,
Okay,
instead of trying to shit on other trans people
look.
that aren't as similar to you.
Well, first of all, the classification of who and isn't trans is something we kind of disagree on. But the point is, I'm having a civil discussion with you. Okay, I'm not here trying to like win a debate. I'm here like I will listen to other people and their own perspectives, and I am more than
Yeah,
willing
can
to
you
learn a
answer the
thing or
question that
two.
I asked?
What question specifically?
Uh, I was making a point by asking you why you think it's okay, for why I want to know why can't you just focus on transsexual issues and talk about that without going out of your way to try and shit on or walk all over other trans people who aren't as similar to you? Why do you think that that's an okay thing to do?
I do talk about transsexual issues,
Yeah, but
and
you can
and the
do that
reason,
without trying to shit on other trans people that aren't
well,
transsexual.
the reason that I do is because I believe that this harms transsexual people. So it comes at that crossing point. And it's not like it's not like my number one priority, right? But it is something, and the reason I kind of go off on it is because it's something that I feel like, a lot of other people don't touch. And maybe that's just kind of how my brain's wired, right? If I see something and everyone else agrees, I don't think, I don't need to be the millionth voice to say something. It's like, yeah, we
Okay,
already know this. We already agree on this. So I kind of tend to
so
prioritize the things that's like, hey,
all right.
let's talk about this since
You made
people
the
aren't talking
claim.
about
All
it.
right, you made a claim which is just an absurd claim because it's the opposite of the truth. You said that trans people that aren't transsexual cause you harm. No, it is
Well,
or trans people broadly harm. No, it is the opposite. For instance, somebody might not
indirectly and
some
non-maliciously,
no. Okay.
unintentionally causes harm
Somebody might
in
not
the
even hold
misconceptions
on.
that people have.
Somebody might not even realize that they are trans, all right? But they
Yeah.
might, you know, experiment with clothing a little bit. Okay? Maybe they try on a dress, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of this.
And then they go from there and then they find out one day that they were trans and they were in denial, right? But they wouldn't have come out as trans if they didn't get to experiment with their gender. So
Yeah.
what the world that you are advocating for is one in which they would not be able to experiment with that.
It's funny that you mentioned this. And it's kind of, so the phenomenon of like homosexual men in denial who wind up saying like transphobic or homophobic things, and are kind of
Mm-hmm.
like part of the toxic masculinity, that kind of group, and then realize later on that they're like, they're gay as well, right? Well, the kind of behavior that they dismissed is still like harmful and homophobic, right? I kind of
Yeah.
view it in the same way. A lot of trans people are in
Wait.
denial.
Trying on a dress is
No,
transphobic?
I'll explain. I'll explain. I remember I watched this one video of like this drag queen who was like basically,
Wait, hold on. No.
dismissing.
No, you can't use that as your argument, okay? Because the example I described was not of an example of a closeted trans person being transphobic before realizing that
No,
they're
they realized
trans.
that they're
I
trans
gave you
later.
an
No,
yeah.
I am
So
explaining the person.
explain how the person in my example why they shouldn't be able why it should be socially unacceptable for them to experiment with their
No,
gender. Not
what
why it
I'm
should be unacceptable for
saying.
them to be transphobic before they come out. I agree they
No,
shouldn't be transphobic.
no, I'm
But why
explaining
shouldn't they
my
be able to
point.
experiment?
What I'm saying is that a lot of these people who are like in drag in these communities perpetuate transphobia in this culture of like, gay men who's kind of casually spread transphobia. And yes, that's a thing I've seen. I've had a lot of gay men
Okay.
be super transphobic to me for reasons we
Okay, well
discussed
that's a
earlier,
problem with
trying to
people being
distance themselves.
transphobic.
And
That is a
I
problem
tend
with
to
people being
believe,
transphobic. So
I
what
tend to
you are
believe that
doing
the
is
act is
you are
bad.
evading the question right now. Okay? I've asked it multiple times now and I'll ask it again. All right? All right? Do you remember what the question was?
The question of like, do you want to repeat the question?
I honestly have fucking attention issues because ADHD be like, bruh. But yeah, well, okay, well, I was gonna criticize you for not remembering the question, but god damn it. All right, you know what? Uh, all right, oh right, okay, I remember the question now. All right, yeah, the question is, why why do you think it would be a better world if it was discouraged and socially more unacceptable for somebody to experiment with their gender and wear clothes of the
Yeah,
opposite gender before they realize that they're trans? Why do you
yeah.
think that that's a better world? Okay, don't
No,
go
no.
on talking about
Okay,
how there's a
listen,
transphobic drag queen,
I will
because that's not what we're
directly,
talking about.
I will directly answer the question. People can call me selfish for this, but I think it would directly benefit me and it would make my personal life easier. And as someone who's experiencing a lot of transphobia and experiencing a lot of harm, why is that such a bad thing for me to want? A world that's slightly easier
How
for
does it
me.
make it
That's
easier for
slightly
you? If you're gonna make an
it,
egoist claim, you already pass. So you can't
no,
appeal to egoism.
the idea of trans being more simple. The idea
Uh-oh, am I lagging? Okay, never mind. It said it was reconnecting for a second. All right, we're back, I think. Yeah, as I was saying, your entire worldview is based on what benefits you. It's centered around you. You are the only thing that's important. But mine is based off of a consistent
and you're a
moral
gender
framework. It's not
abolitionist
relative
because
to
of
what
your
benefits
non-binary
me.
identity. And I'm pro-trans because I'm a trans woman. That's not a bad thing, right? It's just how people are.
Okay,
We tend
ideologically I would be pro-trans if I wasn't trans. Even though that wouldn't benefit me necessarily, it would benefit me more to just not talk about it, but I would still be pro-trans.
Like I would assume, but I can't know for sure. We can
Well,
never
no,
know for
you
sure.
of
but
course you can't know for
obviously,
sure.
but
Does it
come
benefit?
on, be honest with me. You wouldn't be this. Let's be honest. The part of the reason, probably most of the reason, why you feel so strongly about gender abolition and all these things is because of your own personal experience, and that's okay, right?
It's not
That's
just
okay
about my
that
own
that's the
personal
case.
experience.
Well,
It
let's
is
be
it is
honest
not
about
just about personal experience. It is about what my actual ideological principles are, okay? So if I'm going to be a consequentialist or an act utilitarian, right? Then, I'm going to adhere to that. At least to an extent, right? And this is an example of me doing that. There are things that might benefit me. For instance, it would be really nice if there was for me if there was a tax for that, if everyone paid $10 once a month and all that money went to me directly. Yeah, that would be great for me. But I don't make a prescriptive claim to saying that that's how society should operate.
Dude, rich people make tons of shitty laws about why the 1% should get less taxes for the same reason, because they have the power.
Yes,
and they can't
that's
do it.
wrong.
They have the benefits of them, and no one. Okay,
That's
well, what
immoral.
I'm saying is this is human nature. People tend to value themselves and their own priorities over others.
That doesn't mean that that's a good thing or the way it should be.
I think that that's just
you can't use that as a moral argument. Your own selfishness does not validate your morality or your moral framework.
It can be a good thing when it comes to gay people wanting their rights to be right, but it could be a bad thing when it comes to groups like the 1% wanting their taxes to be lowered. So this isn't a good or bad thing on its own. It's just a principle of human nature that can be good or bad depending on the situation. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, kind of. But, like, again, I'm the one that's making utilitarian arguments. You're not. You're appealing to egoism, okay? Which is a very flawed and relativistic and, frankly, inconsistent worldview to hold. Oh, you disconnected. Are you back? Hello?
Hey, sorry. I just my alarm for my medicine went off.
Oh, okay. You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. Okay.
I wasn't like, he's quitting the call. Like, don't worry about that.
No, I didn't think so. Where were we? Yeah, no, like
I've had people say shit like that to me before, so.
So yeah, like, I just don't understand why you would make a moral argument based on what benefits you. Again, it's just whether or not something benefits you personally is next to irrelevant. Okay, that doesn't make it more moral if it specifically benefits you. You would need to explain how it has more benefits broadly than downsides, right?
Well, I've explained that there is nuance, and I've explained that there are people who would benefit and there are people who would serve to harm.
Yeah, but it causes more harm than good. Even if, let's say, hypothetically, it were somehow, even if somehow, let's pretend for a minute, like, would people not cross-dressing would somehow magically improve your life. That doesn't mean that it would cause more good than harm, okay? It would harm way more people than it would benefit.
Like I
So
said,
why-
it's subjective,
so why-
and maybe that's possible.
Maybe that's
don't know.
possible? So, do
Like,
you
it's
not
subjective.
understand why your moral framework is so flimsy?
Look, all I'm saying is trans women, transsexuals are experiencing a lot of shit, and I just would like to live in a world where it was more clear and people kind of understood and there wasn't this confusion, and I feel like that would be better for us.
It's really not even that
tend to
confusing. That's the
believe-
thing, though. It's very easy to explain, actually.
But the
Yeah,
people
there's
don't care. They don't
there's
wanna
three.
listen. Their entire life they've been
Then they're
fed media
not gonna
representations
accept
that
you
aren't
no matter
accurate.
what. The people who aren't willing to
Oh.
listen to a basic explanation are not going to accept you.
know.
Period.
I
So
know,
why would
they're
you
not
bring that up
going
as an
to.
example?
I literally said earlier in the debate that they wouldn't understand, but they wouldn't be
Okay.
as confused onto what. And I would much prefer.
It's
if
not
somebody
their
would attack
confusion
being
that's the
trans.
problem. It would be
They-
the fact that they're transphobic.
Yeah, well, it's obviously the fact that they're transphobic is a problem, but them being confused is like insult to injury, and it kind of sucks. It stings. It's really
So
bad.
you're more worried about them being confused?
I'm just telling you how it feels for me. I'm just having an honest conversation about how I feel. And that's
Okay,
really all it
and
is.
that's fine. That's fine. You can have feelings. But you have to acknowledge that they are irrational in instances like this, where you're not able to make an argument beyond your feelings. If you can't make a moral argument that adheres to some sort of actual standard of morality or moral framework, then don't you think that that's a little bit of a problem with your worldview, and that maybe you need to think these things through a little bit more from a more intellectual standpoint rather than an emotional one?
Look, my priority, like I said, is I want transsexual women to have the best experience possible, and that is my number one priority, and it triumphs all.
So let's
what I believe.
say that that hypothetically, and this is a very abstract example, so you're gonna have to bear with me. If
What
let's
if like
say
Hitler were to like kill a bunch of people who help trans people? Obviously, like no, I don't know what your hypothetical is going to be, but like it
was gonna be
super
similar to
duper
that. It was
Okay,
yeah.
well,
So what if
I mean,
what if
obviously
what,
there's
yeah?
limits, like, but like, come on.
Oh, so there's limits. So what is that threshold for you then?
I mean, I don't know.
You
I mean,
don't
obviously,
know.
I don't think murdering people is ever justified. So obviously that. But
Okay,
like,
what about torturing people? Is that justified?
like, what do you mean torture? Like, just like I don't know.
Pouring sulfuric acid on their hand.
Yeah, somebody pouring sulfuric acid probably not justifiable.
Okay, so that would be beyond the threshold. Okay, what about saying really nasty, hurtful things? Where does that fit into it?
It's not as extreme as sulfuric acid.
Well, no shit, it's not as extreme as sulfuric acid. But what would that be something that's severe enough to surpass that sort of threshold?
Probably not.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. My cat's trying
No,
to
wait.
exit my room. Hold on one sec. Sorry, Reese. Sorry, my cat was meowing. I had to let her out of my room.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I don't see what the point is to just like pinpoint a specific spot. I mean, like you
Because
obviously know it's, like,
you are when you establish what your moral framework is, there are going to be
Well, I
certain
mean, you already know my
boundaries,
answer.
and it's like you seem to think that your intuition is how society should operate.
Yeah, because I'm a transsexual woman and I want transsexual women to live
So-
better lives.
Yeah. Okay, well, a Christian fundamentalist if they were to use
is going to prioritize specimen, and that's exactly the point I was saying. It can be good.
Wait, no, that's an argument against you. That's why having this egotistical standard of my cognition is the ultimate arbiter of truth type of shit, which I know you didn't literally say, but you get what I mean. You get what I mean, right?
It can be good or bad. I'm not saying.
Okay, but what I am saying is that
I want what's best for me. You want what's best for you. That is just human nature.
So
and that's okay.
What would be a better society? One where everybody thinks, similar to me. Maybe they don't have the same values, but everyone is a utilitarian trying to maximize utility and maximize good outcomes. Or do you think a better society is one in which everyone is like you, where they just do what benefits them personally? What do you think is a better society to live in?
Well, the problem is that our current society, we don't have the resources for everyone to thrive.
What is a better society to live in? One where everybody is a utilitarian.
We have people directly opposed to each other. We have people who believe a certain thing.
That's not what I was asking you. Okay, I asked you a question.
They both have their own priorities.
I asked you a question.
Good or bad. They just oppose each other. So we can't live
I asked you a question, and I'm going to ask it again. What would be a better society to live in? One where everybody is an egoist, or one where everybody is a utilitarian?
What the fuck? So one where everyone cares for themselves versus one where people care about other people?
Yeah. What would be a better society to live in? What do you think would maximize moral good?
If you're talking purely on a systemic level, I think a society that cares for its poor and makes sure that people have like a place to live. I guess you could say the utilitarian, but obviously the real world is not that simple. But if you were to put it in extremes like that, then that would be the case.
But one utilitarian in the world.
You're trying to make a point there.
Wait, hold on. Whoa. One utilitarian. Okay. Yeah. So one utilitarian is better than zero utilitarians and one egoist, right? So even if me being in line
there's only one person in the world, it doesn't matter because the one person's the only person in the world. So like,
but they would be okay. But just because I can't single-handedly, change the world, right, does not mean that it wouldn't make an impact on anybody, right? So if I'm a staunch utilitarian, let's say, which I mean I adhere to it to an extent, right? I have a more nuanced position than I strictly adhering to act utilitarianism, right? But let's say, so I'm an act utilitarian, right? And that's going to benefit the people around me, right? Is it not? Like the people that are close to me, that would benefit the people around me, right? If I care about them and their well-being and care about their needs and believe that maximizing utility is important, it would make a small difference, but it would still make a difference, right? It would make the world a slightly better place.
On a small personal level, yes, but you also wouldn't have any systemic power in the matter.
I don't need to have systemic power to have a positive impact. Even if it's a small positive impact.
You can have an impact on the people around you in your own personal life if you care about them. And obviously,
what is better?
Should care about the people around them. But here's the thing. You can have a point in your life where caring for other people can have a personal cost to yourself directly. And these are unfortunate truths in life. There are situations where you can't constantly care for somebody because you have to care for yourself, or you have to miss something in someone else's life because you have to prioritize yourself and your own mental health. These are complex situations that happen in people's lives. And in my opinion, this is one of those situations. So there's a bit of nuance here.
There is nuance, I agree.
You can't constantly prioritize other people because you have to also care for yourself. And in this situation, I'm caring for myself.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
But that actually fits into
if no one ever cared for themselves, that wouldn't be a great society either. You know what I'm saying? If no one ever cared for themselves,
that fits into a utilitarian argument, right? Because obviously, maximizing utility includes maximizing it for both yourself and others. Finding that balance, right?
So
And,
that includes ego.
well, hold on, wait. And also, yes, and
So then that's
but
not full utilitarianism, is it? It includes ego. So there's nuance. See?
no, you are misrepresenting that. No, there is nuance, but the reason why it would be important to take care of yourself is because it is a lot more difficult to take care of others if you don't have your own shit together, right? So if
you're not allowed to care for yourself. You're only allowed to care for yourself in the context of caring for other people. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't
not
seem healthy.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
So it's okay to be suicidal.
But wait, hold on. If you're suicidal, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to help people, right?
So you don't care about the mental health of the actual person. You only care about them in the sense of helping other people. That seems weird to me, and that doesn't seem right.
No, you're putting words into my mouth.
To be better. I'm not putting words into your mouth. I'm saying the ideology in itself and the words that you're saying. I'm not saying that you specifically believe this.
You are completely, you're way off. No, that's not what the ideology preaches.
Based on
but
what you're
in order
saying.
to maximize a part of
We're talking about
wait, hold on, whoa. An important component of consequentialism is maximizing human happiness, right? That's important.
The world you want includes some ego, and that's okay. It's okay.
I didn't say there needs to be no ego. That's not what I said. That's a false dichotomy.
I literally
what I am saying is that you should not use your ego as the sole basis for your entire system of morality.
I don't believe it in my entire system of morality. I just think in this one.
That's the majority of it. From what you've told me, from what you have explained to me, your entire argument, this whole debate, this entire argument, in this entire debate, you have been appealing to what benefits you. That is an egoist argument, and you have been trying to use that as a moral one. That is the problem, right? That's not to say that you can't have. That's not to say that you can't have any ego.
I've been honest about the fact that the reason that I believe what I believe is because I believe it benefits me. I think I've been pretty upfront about that, okay? I never claimed it was this super...
But that's such a bad reason. That's a terrible reason.
Okay, but you were claiming otherwise. Like, I've been open to what I believe.
Yeah, right? But what I'm saying is that yes, you have been open about what you believe. I agree with that, but the reason behind your belief is fucking awful, right? Again, I could use your same line of logic. If, let's say, I was a staunch Christian fundamentalist, I could use your line of logic and say, well, I prioritize other Christian fundamentalists, and it would benefit my... Well, let me finish! It would benefit me as a homophobic Christian fundamentalist, and all my homophobic Christian fundamentalist, white supremacist, transphobic buddies, if every trans person was forced to detransition because I'd know that they're going to heaven.
Yeah,
that is your logic being used by another person. Are you aware of that?
In reality,
you do realize that your logic can be used against you.
No, I'm saying that they feel that way about themselves, and sometimes it can be like a gay person standing up for their rights is a good thing. A Christian fundamentalist, trying to oppose other people can be a bad thing.
Okay, good by what standard?
Good in the standard of gay people think that their human rights are more important than some Christians being upset by it.
By what moral yeah, but I agree that yes, their rights are...
Okay, but then you acknowledge that there is conflict.
No, but by what standard? I'm trying to get you to establish why you believe that, right? I know why I believe it. I've already explained it. Why do you believe?
Why do I believe gay people should have rights?
Yeah, by what standard is that good and important?
It's good because I tend to believe that their having rights is more important than some Christians being offended by it. And in my thing, I think transsexuals, women, having a more comfortable experience is more important than some gender nonconforming people having a little harder of experience. That really is what it comes down to. It's not this idea that I hate gender conforming people. I just prioritize myself And I think that that's more important. And that's really all it is.
So
And we have
you can
conflicting
prioritize
things
yourself
that are
without
directly
hurting
opposed
others.
to each other here. I believe that what you're doing is directly opposed to me. You think that what I'm doing is directly opposed to you. So we're in conflict here, right? Okay.
But what I'm doing is only
both think-
no.
both think that
What
we're in
I'm
the
doing.
right.
Wait, hold on. What you're doing is directly in conflict with me because you have
And I feel the
you-
same way
because
about you. And that's just how it is.
Except
That's just
I
how
have
it
a
is.
logical reason. I have a logical reason. Okay? I have a logical reason for why what you do is harmful, right? But you don't have a logical reason for why what I do is harmful. All you have said is that cross-dressing is bad because you say so. That is it. Cross-dressing is bad because you say so and because you don't like it.
I've explained
That is all you are
multiple times.
saying.
I've explained
But that's what your
multiple times.
argument boils down to.
I've explained multiple times situations where it does cause harm.
No, you have
And-
not adequately described how it causes more harm than good.
Okay, well,
all you
that's
can
your
do
opinion.
all you can do is appeal to egoism.
I've explained why I feel the way that it does and why, certain situations where I believe that the existence of certain people,
Your
causes
feelings
harm to the
your
way that
feelings are not are not something that should be used as a
and I think it's
prescriptive
something
claim.
observable that we can see happening.
Okay.
And I do believe that there's enough reason to warrant my feelings that I do.
And why should your feelings supersede my feelings?
Well, you think that your feelings should supersede mine, right?
No, I think that facts, logic, and reasoning should supersede feelings.
Well,
And
you
I have better
your-
facts, logic, and reasoning
Okay.
than you do, okay?
that's-
For instance,
that's your
I can sit... It's my opinion that the law of non-contradiction is a consistent standard to have. For example, that's like I don't like I don't understand how me having a consistent moral framework, using things like the law of non-contradiction, making utilitarian arguments is somehow, just an opinion, right? Like that's what I am doing. Now, why I do that would be an opinion, right? Or whether or not or for instance, I don't believe in objective morality, right? So the fact that I think I am of the opinion that it's generally a bad thing to murder people, right? That's my opinion. However, it would be a fact that I would be a hypocrite if I were to then go on and murder an innocent person for no reason, right? That would be a fact. I would be breaking the law of non-contradiction, right? So there are consistent objective standards we can use.
Okay, I'm just saying, okay? You, of course, are going to believe I'm saying, like, you... Where do I even
But
go?
not all opinions are equal, right?
People have opinions for different reasons. Like, obviously, I'm going to
Yes.
disagree heavily with some opinions, and there's going to be
But
lots
I
of
have
people who disagree
But I
with
have
certain
better
opinions.
reasons. Because what this entire discussion has boiled down to is
There's no such thing as a better
what
reason.
this
There can be a reason that
So
more
you think
people
that
in
whoa,
the
oh
field
my
need
god.
to agree.
Wait, nope, stop. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to retract you saying something really stupid, which was that there isn't a such thing as there being a better or worse reason. Do you want to retract that real quick?
There can be such a thing as a universally, like, if you were to poll 99 people out of 100 and 99 would agree you on something,
No.
that can be a thing in a very extreme case.
No, I'm not
make
arguing
such a
about what a
general
plurality
claim
thinks.
on something as stupid as, like, who had the better reasons in a debate. That's, like, super subjective. Like, that's the most subjective you can be.
So you
So to try
believe
to make, like,
So
a
wait, whoa.
objective statement
So
out of
you
something
believe
that's clearly subjective is silly. And it
Wait,
kind of,
hold on.
like,
Whoa. Okay. All right. No. So,
and This
okay.
isn't even relevant
Hold
to
on,
the debate.
hold
Like,
on, hold
this
on.
is just kind of a silly, like, point to harbor on.
Okay, so do you believe that somebody using facts, logic, and reasoning and having a consistent argument is not any better of reasoning than, well, you see, I believe this because that's how I feel, LOL. Do you believe that those are equal lines of reasoning? Or do you believe that one line of reasoning might be a little bit more well thought out than the other?
Well, are you trying to say that I'm not using facts?
No,
That
this
you
entire,
are using
hold on,
facts
this
and
entire
that's
discussion,
you're
what this
trying-
entire, hold on. This entire discussion, what it boils down to, what it's been boiling down to, is you will make a claim, and then I will ask you to justify your claim, and then
Dude.
as soon and then you sloppily construct a poor argument, then I criticize it, and then you fall back on, well, on saying things like, oh, well, that's just how I feel, you know, it's just my subjective opinion, tee hee ooh woo.
Look, okay, I have an explanation for all this, okay? I am not a debate bro, whatever the fuck that is, okay? I think we just go about this whole thing very differently. I'm not going, when I talk to people, I want to listen to other people, I want to hear their perspectives, and I want to share my perspectives. I'm not
Okay,
trying to be super rhetorical. I'm not trying to, like,
you don't have
win
to
a
be
debate.
rhetorical.
I'm not trying to be super tactical. I just want to speak about how I feel. And I don't believe it's anything deeper. I don't put a lot of stock into who won the debate. I just put a lot of stock into, hey, let's have a conversation and let's talk.
What you are failing to understand, what you are failing to understand is that regardless of whoever has the better rhetorical strategy, that is not what determines whether or not your argument is necessarily more logical. I might be better at saying things that are quippy, or you know, better at saying things on the spot, or whatever, or, you know, asking hard-hitting questions than you. Sure, maybe that's true. I don't disagree with that, considering how this debate has gone. However, just because you are incompetent in debate does not automatically mean that you should be incapable of constructing a logical argument.
Look, what I'm saying is that I go about this whole thing differently from you. We do this kind of
But
thing differently.
you
I don't view it this the way that you do. I don't view this as really like a serious thing. I just view it as I'm just gonna
Great.
talk to somebody.
But if you
I
make
don't go into this.
Okay, but
That's it,
if
you know?
if you are going to publicly make prescriptive claims about the way society should operate, then you
Dude,
need
there's
to have
people-
a justification for it.
Dude, there's people who like say way more offensive shit without putting a single thought into it. I've literally gone on multiple debates, clarifying my stances. I've gone on like
So
there's
just
literally
because
hours of
somebody says
content
something that's
on
more
me
off the
on-
rails,
Dude,
so
oh my
wait, hold on.
God.
Just because somebody says so because somebody else said something that's more off the rails than the dumb shit you said, that automatically means that the dumb shit you say is actually valid now because other people have worse opinions than you?
What I'm saying is, like, you can see me talking about this. I put a lot of thought into my opinions. People,
Are you sure
you have
about
to
that?
understand, people are not always going to agree with you, and that's okay. Not everybody is gonna like. I don't think you
Sure.
can genuinely. Did you expect me to come out of this debate and be like, actually, I agree with you. I changed my mind. I totally have. Did you expect me to change my mind? Like,
No, I
don't know what
expected
you want from me.
I expected you to be weasel and make horrible piss poor arguments like
Okay,
you've done in every
but
other
then
debate.
what if that's how you feel about me, then why even fucking bother talking to me? What's the point?
Because having discourse on a public
So
platform
that you
serves
can be
utility.
like, huh, I am a better debater than Rose. I'm such a look at me doing so
No.
well. Like, if you're not trying to have genuine conversations,
It's so that
then what's
it is
the
a
point?
genuine no, first of all, it is a genuine conversation. First
But
of all.
if you think that
Secondly,
if you
hold
think I'm
on.
not gonna like do anything,
Hold
then
on.
you don't think we're having a
That doesn't mean that I can't
conversation.
be charitable. Hold on,
No,
I
but
can
you're
I can treat you with
misunderstanding what I'm
charitability at
saying.
the beginning of a debate while still having the opinion of yeah, this is probably going to be the outcome, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt type of thing, right? That's not that uncommon of a thing to start out with, right? But at the end of the day, you know, it's not about you know, me trying to feel like I'm better than you at debate. It's like I already know that I'm better at you at debate. I didn't need to do this stream to prove that to myself.
Again, this is like I said, this is literally
but
the
having
definition
this
of
discussion,
perspective.
having
The
these
fact that you're
types of
just
discussions
saying
are
this shit
important.
out loud.
Okay, but having these types of discussions is still important because at the end of the day, there is an audience who is watching both of us, okay? So when I make better arguments than you, which I have consistently done throughout the entirety of the debate, let's be real.
And that's your opinion.
Then people
I would disagree, but that is your opinion. And that's fine if that's your opinion.
You can disagree,
Of
but
course,
nobody
dude, of
but
course
at
you're
the end of the
gonna think
day,
you have the better arguments, and that's okay. I don't expect you to think that I had the better arguments. That'd be stupid of me to think. That's
no,
okay.
there have been many instances in which I've argued with somebody in well, maybe not that many instances, but there have been some instances where I've argued with somebody who ultimately had better arguments than me, even if I don't ultimately agree with them. There were some instances where I was rhetorically ineffective or took an L or, you know, hadn't thought my position out well enough, right? Like there was I did a debate about veganism. I didn't know that much about veganism, to be honest. So I wasn't really prepared for the debate. I took an L there. I'm not gonna lie, right? And it wasn't because I was rhetorically less effective than the other person, though I will say the other person was also rhetorically effective. It was because they had better logic and reasoning than me, okay? If you can construct a better argument than me in terms of its actual logic and reasoning, it's not that hard to beat me in a debate. That's what you don't understand. The reason that you can't beat me in a debate is not because I'm rhetorically effective. Sure, I might be rhetorically effective at times, but I am willing to acknowledge when I am wrong about something, right? So if you present me with an argument that is more logical than what I already believe, then I will concede a point if I deem your point to be a better one.
So there are situations, like, here's the thing, right? I don't want to flip this on its head. There are situations where I've talked to people and I've looked back at the conversation and said, yeah, actually, I agree with their point. And then there are other situations where, you know, you could say, like, just because in certain situations you can feel a certain way doesn't mean that there aren't other situations where your viewpoint is biased and flawed to it, you know, what in whatever, if there is even an objective thing, right?
Can you
We're all gonna
explain
have our
how, wait,
personal
hold on.
biases
Can you
and
explain
slants.
how my point of view is flawed?
We're all fucking biased. We're all flawed.
No.
Even if
Can
certain
you
situations
explain,
we
can you
can't.
explain how my viewpoint specifically on this matter is flawed?
Because you don't have, there's no such thing as an objective like, oh, I won this debate. I was better. And to ask the person
I'm not
themselves
asking you about
for an
whether or not
objective, if you were to
I'm not
ask
asking you about whether or not I'm winning the debate,
dude.
which I obviously am, but that's irrelevant. What I'm
No, no,
asking you
like,
about, I'm
oh my
asking you,
God.
you said that my viewpoint was flawed. Okay, if you want to make that claim, you should substantiate it by explaining
Okay, can
what
I,
about my viewpoint
can
is
I,
flawed.
look, this is silly. Let's give an hypothetical
I agree, you
situation,
have,
right?
your arguments have been very silly. I couldn't agree more.
God. Just another way to get a job at me. Whatever. Look, imagine there's a third person who has no relevance to us whatsoever. This person has had 40
No.
debates in their life, and they're
I'm not,
and
I
they were
don't care
willing to. No, no, no.
about
Can I
somebody, a
explain
third
the
person.
principle? Please,
No,
please let me
I
explain. Okay.
want you to explain why
Let me.
my point of view is flawed. I don't care about,
Because,
oh, well,
oh
what if
my
some third
God.
party disagreed with you, lol? No,
Because
that is
of,
not what I am
listen,
interested in. I want
no,
you
hold
to
on.
logically
I've
explain,
let you.
I want you to logically explain why my point of view is flawed.
I've let you during this debate have points where you gave me two hyper extreme things and you pinpoint me down to a specific answer, and I gave you those specific answers in those circumstances. So I'm just
After
asking if you
weaseling.
just let me. No,
I'm not gonna, you want me to let you weasel and dodge the question?
I gave you that, and I'm saying I think you should have pinned me down, but at the same time,
Good.
let me answer this question. Let
I
me
am. I
explain.
asked it multiple times.
Okay.
I'm
Well, then
obviously
can
looking
you
for you to
let me
answer it.
finish? Can you let me finish the point that I'm trying to make, please?
Finish it
Can you let
quickly.
me speak? Okay, I will. Just let me speak, okay? If you have a hypothetical third person who has 40 debates and they say they will personally admit to losing 2 debates, right? They'll say, okay, well, in this one debate, I will admit, yeah, I lost, right? But let's just say if there was such a thing as objective, let's say objectively they lost like 12 or 14 debates, right? Or most people would say they lost 12 or 14, but they only really admit to those two, right? And then that person will be like, well, see, hey, I said that I lost this debate. Therefore, I'm not biased and I can arbitrarily say that I objectively won this debate. It's stupid because, just because you can admit to certain situations doesn't mean that you're like the arbiter of truth. Like, people are still biased towards themselves, even if there are certain situations where they can acknowledge, like, they kind of lost. Like, I'm just saying, obviously, no fucking duh. Like, nobody can objectively say whether they won or lost the debate. That's not an objective. That is subjective by nature. You can have that opinion, but for you to say that it's like you objectively won, it's just a stupid thing to say. Even if you think that, the fact that you would even claim that I objectively won makes me like respect you less as a person, like as on principle, because it's silly, and it makes me think that you don't respect me. And it's like I feel like I've been, we disagree on stuff, but I feel like I've been pretty, civil with you during this debate. So I feel like it just like rude and just kind of like unnecessary, and I don't see the point of it. It's just not very respectful, and I'm just like, what's the point? Thank you for letting me speak, though.
Okay, that's great.
That's all I was.
But that's great and all. But can you give me like a logical explanation as to why my point of view is wrong? The question that you were supposedly going to answer?
I can't, but you don't understand. I can't say that you're objectively wrong because I don't believe that something can be objectively like I can't say
you said
I don't believe
you said that my position was flawed.
I believe it's subjective. Yeah,
if my position was flawed, then why can't you point to a single flaw? I'm not even saying that it's not flawed, but you have not been able to establish why it is. So you are not in a position to assert that it is.
I was responding to your claim that you objectively won the debate. That is what I was responding to.
Did I say it was?
The flaws, I have literally spent this entire conversation going over what I personally think the flaws are. So if you
replay
the debate, go from the beginning and listen to everything that I said. Unless you want me to say all that again.
if you believe that if you really want to go the route of let's say there's 1,000 people in the audience watching us debate, and all 1,000 of them agree with me and think I won the debate. Our argumentation was equal, and that we had equally good arguments.
If 1,000 people said that I won the debate, I still wouldn't say that's objective. I would say that it's still subjective, right?
Well, no, I was saying that. Well, no, they would say that I would win the debate. I was trying to make the hypothetical at least somewhat realistic, right?
Yeah,
so, obviously. So if 1,000 people, hold on,
because
I wouldn't have. You don't think that would be a measurement of whether or not I have better arguments than you?
It would be a measure of popular opinion. That's all it would be.
Sure,
it would be a measure of popular opinion.
but let's say, sure. I don't disagree that would also measure the popular opinion. But let's add another variable, okay? Let's say these people are completely neutral at the start. They don't have any biases, and then after the debate, they agree with me. Who do you think won the debate if all 1,000 people who were neutral before and came out of that, watching that, with the position that I hold, who do you think won the debate?
Well, first of all, I don't think there is such a thing as a neutral party.
Just engage in the hypothetical.
In the hypothetical, if you were to get a bunch of neutral people, then I think maybe there would be a correlation. If there is such a thing as an objectivity, then maybe there would be a correlation there. I objectively
had better arguments, yeah.
Neutral would be this. Like, you go to 1,000 random people in the street, you poll them, you make them watch the debate without any knowledge of anyone prior, and say, hey, who do you think won the debate? And you get a sample of random people. Then I think you can make a pretty fair thing. It's like, okay, that's popular. But it really, at the end of the day, it's still, I still think it would just be popular opinion. I really don't think it would have
So
any
you
real
think
acclaim,
that in
'cause the
my
popular-
hypothetical, which you randomly changed to random people on the street who are gonna have biases, in my hypothetical, I explicitly stated that they wouldn't have any biases.
That
going
doesn't
into
exist
it.
in reality.
Okay, but I wanted you to, I was telling you to engage with the hypothetical. Now, I'm not saying that that would be a legitimate metric for measuring it, but that would be, but if that were the case, then you would be able to say that, yes, here is a, stop, that would be an instance in which, yes, that is yes, it would be obvious that I made better arguments. Now, I'm not saying that whether or not somebody makes better arguments is easy to definitively measure. I never made that claim. Sometimes it's immeasurable, actually. I mean, we can't perfectly measure these things. I can say that, yeah, my arguments were better than yours, but I can't, calculate the exact percentage of how much better my arguments are, and like what the exact. You get what I mean?
Like, I just, like, yeah, nobody can obviously, like, say, like, oh my god, this
Okay,
is just,
so I want to go back to the, alright, so I want to go back to a question that you probably don't like very much, considering how much you've been evading it, alright? You said that my position was flawed. Can you point out a single flaw with my position?
Okay, I first of all, I have OCD, so I tend to get stuck on a thing. So that's why I have to go back and answer it. Then I'll go back and answer your question. So I just want to,
Okay.
so fuck, what was I gonna say? I'm so sorry. I hate.
All right. I'm sure you'll think of it later. All right. I asked you a yes or a no question, a very simple yes or a no question, or sorry. Not a yes or no question.
If you go, I just want to. I'm sorry. This is the way my brain works. If you were to ask a bunch of people on the street, I'm sorry. I know this is
no,
like
not that one.
But if you, I know this is different. Just let me. I'm just saying, like, the people would have biases. Those people, like, if you were to talk to a bunch of people,
no shit.
like,
I didn't say they wouldn't.
Even if they. No, I know. This is my OCD brain. Even if they all came to a conclusion together, they would still be flawed based on their own personal experiences, or the public isn't always right. The public could be bigoted or biased, or
sure, but if people, like, let's say there are people. Okay, but let's say you take a group of people that absolutely give zero shits about trans issues. They don't care about trans people at all. You specifically get that group of people, all right, and then they watch our debate, and then they all agree with me. Do you not think that might be indicative of who has better arguments?
Well, what I'm saying is you could have a group that has no opinions about trans people that happens to also stumble upon the wrong answer of trans people because of, like, I'm saying
you think that they would all accidentally, well, well, first of all, whether or not you make good arguments for something does not mean that you're correct or not, right? Like, you can, like, well, hold on. You can accidentally arrive at the correct conclusion, right? So, like, let's say, hold on, wait, like, let's say there was somebody, let's say, thousands of years ago, there was somebody arguing in favor of the round earth, and then there was a flat earther, and the flat earther was like, well, you can see it's flat, idiot, obviously. Like, just look at the world. Wait, let me finish the analogy. Jesus Christ. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. Okay? As I was saying before you rudely interrupted me, if the round earther were to make if their entire argument was, well, I think it's round because that's how I feel, LOL, then yes, the flat earther would in that case have a better argument, right? And the audience would probably agree with them, right? If it was in front of an audience, and nobody in that audience, either thought that the world was flat or they were neutral, right? So they would come to the wrong conclusion,
No,
but I would still have better, but that, like, the flat earther would still have better arguments in that case.
So what you're saying is that you care about rhetorical skills versus the actual beliefs.
I just want you to make a good argument.
But wait, so you care more about the rhetorical skills?
No, I care about the actual logic of what you believe, I want you to make a logical argument, right? Because if the reason that the round earther would lose that debate isn't because they're rhetorically ineffective, it's because they came to the right conclusion for the wrong reason.
Yeah, so would you...
so they don't have any logical basis in believing what they believe.
Can I throw you a hypothetical? Would you prefer somebody was transphobic for, like, and they had a bunch of scientific articles on their site, they have the best rhetorics in the world, and they were super transphobic? Or would you prefer somebody who was, like, pro-trans, but didn't have any reasons, and their whole reason was, well, actually, trans people should exist because let them do what they want, I don't care, and that was their whole argument?
Well, obviously, as a utilitarian, well, first of all, I wouldn't want them making wrong arguments that would make us look bad. But like, so let's say that it didn't. Let's say that like.
I'm not gonna answer the question, but when I ask you a question, you're not gonna.
Wait, no, I'm literally answering your question. I said that obviously, yeah, I would rather somebody not be transphobic, but I'm adding onto it, and what I am saying. Notice how I address it right away by saying. Yes, it probably would be better if they weren't transphobic. However, also, I would hope that they wouldn't make arguments that are so bad that it makes other people transphobic, because then that would sort of defeat the point, right? Because it's like, but like, let's say that they don't make arguments that are bad enough to convince people to swing the other way, all right? Well, then you have one less transphobic person, right? That's good. That serves utility. But the reason that I believe that that's good is not because they are right to come to the conclusion the way they did. It's because it serves utility. So I still have a logical basis in what I believe.
Yeah, so okay, well, I respect your answer, and thank you for that. There's nuance there, and that's okay. I just, before I was kind of doing the same thing that you just did, and it felt like you gave me a lot of shit for that. And
Except I didn't do the same thing.
You did, but it's whatever. It's whatever. It's not.
Because but there's a difference between evading a question and answering a question and then expanding upon it.
I did answer the question in those cases, and I also explained the nuance. Yes, I did. You literally admitted that I answered the question, but
eventually you did. Eventually, you answered the question. Or are you talking about me answering the question, or you answering the question?
No, I'm saying like before.
All right, this is fucking stupid. Can we just pivot? This is so dumb.
I just want to explain, because I just don't think it was like a very nice thing when you were just like, oh my god, because I was explaining my reasoning for my answer while giving the answer, and that's all it was. It was just
you were evading the question and talking about unrelated shit.
No, I was answering the question, but also giving some nuance that explains my answer, which is but it's okay. It's not.
But you didn't give an answer to begin with. That's the thing. If you would have given an answer and then you would have added nuance after already stating your answer, fine, fair enough.
Dude,
I would be fine with that.
Listen. I just think you're being kind of rude, and I just kind of want you to not be
because you're
rude in the future.
Well, I'd rather you not say things that fucking kill this many brain cells. You're being rude to my brain cells. How do they feel?
Dude, but do you not... Okay, first of all, you saying that just proves that you're just being kind of like a jerk right now, and that's kind of like not great. So, like...
So that makes my argument less valid? Because I made a joke?
I'm not even talking about your argument right now. I'm just saying you're being kind of rude. And that's...
I'm gonna ask you a question. All right, I'm gonna ask you a question. All right, you might not like this question very much, but can you explain to me? All right, you said that my point of view was flawed. Can you explain to me what one of those flaws would be? Like what is a flaw in my point of view? On the
which
whole,
point of view? Which
the fact what we were actually talking about. My view on trans issues, right?
your view on gender abolitionism, your view on
Whatever, just
femboys.
anything,
Okay,
related
I
to
think
gender.
you want one flaw. You want
Yeah,
one flaw.
just one.
Okay. One flaw is I think that it overlooks trans people's existence and it causes harm to them by not realizing the extension of that. That is
Wait,
a flaw.
what? How am I overlooking trans people's existence?
No, I think that when it comes to femboys, and like I said, I don't think it's intentional, but I think when it comes to like drag queens, I think a lot of times they don't realize the societal impact that it has, that their existence and what they do. Like for instance, like someone who's what is that guy? That femboy guy who dresses and says
Finster?
like I'm a man. Finster, yeah. Like how
He's
he
based.
I don't think he understands how a lot of people view his content and how that kind of perpetuates like in the instance of like all transphobia, is this the worst thing ever? No, but I don't think he understands how this perpetuates a transphobic view or perpetuates misconceptions, more accurately how it perpetuates misconceptions of what trans people are and how it can cause people to have more confusion or
Okay,
misunderstanding. I think that that's
so you said that he doesn't understand how it could perpetuate transphobia, which implies that you do. So can you explain how it perpetuates transphobia then?
Yeah, because when you have people shouting out saying that, I am a man, and then you have a bunch of people who don't, quite frankly, understand trans people, if you acknowledge that like millions of people are seeing this week and you acknowledge that there's at least, a handful of people who, may not understand trans people that much, may see that as a trans person, may have, or, it doesn't even have to be that extreme, right? They understand the difference, but now when they see a trans person, maybe they take it a little less seriously. This instance that this trans woman's a woman because here's Finster saying I'm a man, I'm wearing a dress. So now I can take it a little bit less
What?
seriously because I know somebody else isn't taking it as. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that this is how these people think, and they
You're
may
just
not.
making shit up.
Not. It's not conscious. This is an
You're just,
unconscious
like,
thing
your
that
entire
goes on.
argument is like, well, what if there's like two people
Well,
in Finster's audience, and then like they see his content where he dresses like a woman but says he's a man, and then they get this,
well,
they're confused, and then to make matters even worse, they don't even understand
well.
it, and then they don't take it seriously. I'll bet
If
that's your argument.
if we talk about unconscious effects on how the brain works, these things do happen. I would love to see a study where people were exposed to this content and then they were given like a questionnaire of their views about trans people. I would love to see how it affects the brain. And if there was a study that showed that it didn't have an impact, then maybe I
So
would, see
hold
it.
on. You
I would
think
like to
that
see a study done on this. I just don't think
Okay,
that there
so
is
you
one
think
because
you
why
think
would there
that
be?
there being less gender non-conforming people would make people more accepting of trans people. Like
That's
this is
not
just
I think there would be less. We've gone over this. I think there would be less confusion. We've literally had this
this
exact.
is
We're
such
going
a
in
stupid
circles.
argument. It's like, it's probably too confusing, lol. It's like that's not an argument. It's not confusing. It's very simple actually.
I'm explaining. I'm explaining how I feel. I'm explaining what I've seen. Okay. Yes,
Okay,
this
you
is
can
all
feel
based
however you want,
on.
but your feelings are not an argument.
Well,
I can I can I can say that I can
would
say that
like.
I feel well, hold on. I can say that I feel like Hitler was the greatest leader of all time. That doesn't mean it's a good argument
Well,
just because I feel that way.
oh my god, that out of context. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, no, I know.
No,
But like you
no,
get
that
what I
makes
mean,
sense.
right?
No,
Like just because you feel a
I get what
certain
you mean.
way,
I get what
that's
you
like
mean.
not an argument. You can say that about literally anything.
Yeah, I understand. It's all based on like
Okay, so then
my
come up
own.
with a better argument.
Well, I said that I would like to see studies based on this because I'm
Oh,
genuinely
okay,
curious
cool.
if people exposed to this content have different feelings. Based on what I've seen, based on my experiences
Different feelings.
online,
How
I
would it
would
make
think
them how would it make
I'm
their
saying
view
there's no
more
studies about
negative?
this kind of thing, so there's
Okay.
no way to prove or disprove it yet. I would
So
like to see it
okay,
done.
there you go, There's no way to prove or disprove it yet. So do you believe that all femboys are guilty until proven innocent?
I believe, based on what I've seen, that there is a strong reason to believe that it is causing misconceptions based on my life experience, based on all of this that I've seen. Now, if if there was a way to substantially
What
prove
have
that
you
that wasn't
seen?
the case, then I
What have you
wouldn't. Then
seen
I
in
would
your
say if
life?
there was.
Have you seen somebody, like, were you, like, watching somebody who was watching a Finster video, and then, like, they were, like,
Dude,
you know, like, openly expressing their inner monologue and being like, oh, yes, this Finster guy is, in fact, a man. You know, before I
I'm a
thought trans
trans
women
woman.
are
I've
women, but
also
now I'm kind of confused. This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think
subconscious,
I should take
unconscious.
trans people
It's
seriously anymore.
Yeah, the way you're phrased, it's never that simple. The unconscious stuff like this is never as
Unconscious
extreme as that.
stuff.
Think of
Yeah,
it this way. Like if you
this
ever
is just you not having an argument. You're
no no
just
no
it's like I ask you to come up with
can
like how this would
can
affect
I
people, and it's
explain it?
like,
Can I
well,
explain
it's
can
probably
I
gonna like
oh
cause
my god.
unconscious biases and
Can
stuff.
you let me
LOL. It's like that's
can you
not an
let me
argument. Anything
explain?
can cause
Okay,
unconscious
can you
biases.
I'll give you an example, okay? When you see an advertisement for like a chip on TV, right? The people aren't gonna wake up and suddenly be like, "Oh my god, I need to buy this chip now. This chip is gonna change my life. Wow, I did not like this chip, and now I watch this ad. I'm gonna buy this chip. It's the best." No, what happens is it seeds into your brain, and the next time you're at the grocery store, now you are more likely to buy that because you've seen it more. And it's this unconscious thing that happens in your brain. It's the similar kind of effect, right?
Well,
You
you're
know,
also more
nobody's gonna
likely.
go
Well,
up
if you see people that are
and the
gender.
studies
Wait,
and the
hold on.
statistics prove that it's effective.
If you
It's the
see
same
people,
concept.
if you see
This is the
people,
thing that happens.
if you see people who don't more often that don't conform to societal gender norms, whether it be by transitioning or just being gender nonconforming in general, then yes, they will be more accepting of that. That is a good thing. That benefits trans people.
They will have a worldview that maybe leans more towards gender abolitionism, maybe leans more towards a world where they
That
don't
is
view gender as
pro-trans,
no,
a
they view gender
pro-transgender
as
world,
they
a
view
world
it
where
as
people,
gender not being as important. That is a thing that we can agree is happening. So we both
which
agree
is
with the
good.
framing
It
that this
benefits
is a
trans
thing.
people.
Okay, but you were just arguing that it's crazy that you would think that these things would have this effect. It's crazy if someone could see Finster's account and think that it would have this kind of effect. So now you're saying that it does have this effect now.
What?
Because
Wait,
you're saying,
I'm
well, yeah,
saying. Wait, what?
obviously
No, I'm.
seeing you're saying that obviously seeing these people is going to lead them to be more accepting of these people and change their kind of worldviews and sort of a
Yes.
thing. And so that's kind of what I was saying before. I can't prove that it's doing that, but we see that it's doing that, and it's kind of
Okay,
clear to us.
but like you're just okay, but okay, but what I am example I'm providing is something that is actually verifiable by psychology, that if you if you're around a certain type of person more often, then you're going to be more accepting of them broadly, right?
Well, yeah,
like take for instance, there there have been studies where areas in which there is more diversity, those areas tend to have people that are less racist and more accepting of black people, for instance, right? Similar concept. However, what I would like to say,
even though the South has more black people and they have a lot of racist people, but yes, I agree in principle.
You mean
yes.
rural areas, like? But yeah,
No,
you
no,
agree with me,
I
right?
know,
Yeah, you agree with me. Yeah. You get
I
you
agree
get what
on
I'm
the
saying, though, right? Like, yeah. So
I
okay,
get what you're saying,
so hold on. So somebody who isn't, maybe they're not that informed on trans issues or whatever, right? But if they see a lot of people who are gender non-conforming or they look trans or whatever, they are automatically, by default, just because of human nature that is psychologically verifiable, going to be more accepting of trans people. Are you aware of that?
Well, I think that
Even if they don't understand trans people, even if they don't understand trans people or why trans people are trans, you can acknowledge that they would be more accepting just because trans people are there in front of them in society more often, right? Even if it's not actually trans people, even if they think that cis people that cross-dress are trans, it's like it's like that they'll be incorrect, but at least they'll be less bigoted, and if they're less bigoted, then they're going to be more willing to listen to somebody who is correct, right?
Yeah, but there's also like a converse to this. Like think of like all the TERFs on Twitter, like people who have gone more transphobic because they've seen more trans people in their life. Like, someone who's becoming a TERF because they met a trans
That's
person,
not why
and
they
that
become a
trans person
TERF.
was not nice to them. because
They become a turf
I'm
because
saying,
of conservative propaganda. Because
well,
they're
yes,
surrounded
that's
by
also
conservatives. And uh-oh. Oh god, please don't tell me it got cut out of the VOD. And uh-oh. Oh no! Oh god, please don't tell me it got cut out of the No! You've got to be kidding me. But well, I guess the last part of the debate is gone. But yeah, God, no. 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 Oh my god. Ah, that was... Sorry. That's what happens when you don't pay... I'm sorry, I was invested in the debate. Now I'm mad. Man, I had some good lines at the end, too. Did you record? No, I didn't. I didn't record. Because I thought it would end up being in the VOD, but then Streamlabs decided, you know, it would be a really good idea if I just disconnected. That would be real funny. That would be a hilarious, epic prank on me, you know? And yeah, so part of the debate is missing. I hope you recorded it, maybe, so I can rewatch the last part. If not, then I guess that footage is lost forever. I don't know what to tell you. I know I'm not happy about it. But a brief summary of well, that sucks 'cause my entire point was I hope you can watch this in a few years and now you can't. Well, either way, well, I can still watch the majority of the debate. But it, like, whatever, like the last however many minutes, I don't know if it's like a half hour or what. I don't know how far behind it was. But I can't watch the last part, the last however many minutes. Because it was lagging. Fucking Streamlabs, man. But, yeah, basically, long story short, my brain cells are rotting. Those arguments were, man, and getting you, so basically, I'll describe the last few points, alright? So, you know, even if your number one priority is maximizing the well-being of transsexual people, which Rose agrees with, then you should be in favor of gender non-conforming people being able to express themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, you agreed during the debate, right? You agreed during the debate, or yeah, during the debate. I don't know if it's on, if that footage got saved or not. I have no idea. I'll rewatch this and see where it got cut off. But, what was I saying? Oh, right. But, you agreed that someone who is more accepting of somebody who is transsexual, would be, or sorry, you agreed that somebody who is more accepting of gender nonconformity would be way more likely to be accepting of sex nonconformity. And whether you like it or not, you are not conforming to your biological sex, right? So it would logically follow that it would actually make you more accepted in society if more people were accepting of gender nonconformity, because people, once again, people that are accepting of gender nonconformity are way more likely of being accepting of sex nonconformity. Would they not be? I mean, if somebody is starting out knowing absolutely nothing about the subject matter at hand, they might see sex and gender as the same thing, right? So they would see gender nonconformity and sex nonconformity as the same thing. What this means is that when it comes to sex nonconformity, they wouldn't accept it because they would see it as the same as gender nonconformity, which you are advocating against. So, whether you like it or not, you are advocating against your own well-being. So even if you want to take this narcissistic, completely egoist perspective, you're doing yourself a disservice at the end of the day. It is mutually beneficial if we can just coexist and not hate each other, but you're not willing to do that. You don't want me to be allowed to exist at the way I exist, right? You don't like femboys, right? Now, you ultimately acknowledged that my form of self-identification actually does make sense in my specific situation, right? But I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't just if I didn't start out as a quote-unquote boy who was trying on girls' clothing. I wouldn't have gotten to this point. This isn't me on day one. I wouldn't have even have considered taking estrogen. That wouldn't even be a part of the equation. But, you know. Either way, I was just talking about you saying mean things to me on Instagram and why I didn't originally came out just to shut you up so you didn't say I, quote, run away from a debate, because I don't do that. Well, good job not running away from a debate. Unfortunately, it appears that you ran away from every question I asked you in the debate. So, I mean, I guess you're, like, a little bit better than someone who would just completely run away from a debate, but, I mean, you're not that far off, considering the fact that every question I asked you was a question that you decided to evade. Was it not? You couldn't answer simple yes or no questions. You would go on a 2-hour-long tangent about shit that doesn't have anything to do with what I asked you. I'll happily say mean shit about your grape apologist ass. Doesn't make a single argument you made make sense. Didn't make me any less convinced as a fellow trans woman that you'd happily sell me down the river. True. It's a thin line between what you do and what Blair White does. How much would the Daily Wire have to pay you to start pedo-jacketing me? True. I answered all of your questions, but okay. Well, just because you said words after I asked you a question doesn't mean you were actually answering the question, right? So if I ask somebody, all right, so let's say, yeah, you know, since you aren't a very empathetic person, considering how self-centered you are, all right? Let's say that you ask me a question, all right? You ask me why I think that femboys are valid, and then I start talking about how it was 90 degrees outside the other day, and then a friend of a friend told me some shit about Andrew Tate, and then because they said that about Andrew Tate and how they care about masculinity, and because they care about masculinity, they hate femboys. That's why they came to the conclusion that they hate trans people. That's not answering the question. I am saying words by doing that, but that's weaseling. You danced around a lot of questions. Yeah, exactly. I wish LGBT plus communities would stop gatekeeping each other. Yeah, exactly. Not every feminine AMAB is a trans girl, and trying to project your identity onto others has always gotten under my skin. Yeah, exactly. Like, you only do harm when you do that, Rose. I think Rose answered all the questions when she said she'd prefer that others are uncomfortable for her personal comfort. True. Yeah, it's like she believes that her own comfort is inherently or intrinsically or more valuable and worthwhile than other people, right? She cares more about her own comfort and, you know, right? And believes that society should conform to her cognitive distortions, right? Um, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't, right? If you're going to make a prescriptive claim about the way society should operate, appealing to what benefits you or what you personally like is not an argument, okay? I cannot like pineapple on pizza, but that's not an argument for why it should be banned in all 50 states. I mean, it should be, let's be real, it probably should be banned in all 50 states, because let's be real, pineapple on pizza is a crime against humanity, but that's beside the point, alright? Her views are so harmful and damaging to everyone else. Yeah, true. Now, I don't talk about personal experience as much during a debate. I might appeal to that a little bit if I'm talking to an empathetic person, but I don't, it's like, I don't think that Rose gives a shit about femboys, about, you know, the well-being of people like me, or other people that start out as gender non-conforming, right? A lot of trans girls start out as femboys who don't think that they're trans, right? You know, they're still in the egg, but they're trying some shit out, right? That's how you crack the egg. But Rose doesn't want you to be able to, you know, crack that egg without being ridiculed. Which is fucking awful. Like, that's an awful thing to think, an awful thing to say. And personally, people like Rose who believe that the only valid trans people, and I'm gonna talk about personal experience for you, chat. And I know Rose is watching this. I don't think she cares about what I'm about to say, but it was people like Rose, and maybe not Rose specifically, because I didn't know who she was, but it was people with the same mindset as Rose. The mindset that you have to have the most severe gender dysphoria to be trans that prevented me from being me. Because it's like, well, you know, I do want to do this, but no, I don't. Like, I would regret it. I would regret going on HRT because I don't literally want to chop my dick off at all times, right? People like Rose are the reason why it took me so long to come out, and why I was so terrified of seeking gender-affirming care. So, if you are a genuinely good person, something you need to realize is that people like you make it way more difficult to come out as trans, because not being able to experiment with who you are when you're not sure prevents you from doing so, right? Because you're forced to stay in a box. And you are, well, the one who wants people to stay in those boxes. It's kind of hard. Not everybody can leap from one box straight to the other so easily, right? You know, for some people, the boxes are pretty close. For others, it's far away. You might need to take a few steps in between, right? With figuring out who you are. But, again, it's the Blair White, Calvin Guerra, etc. types, the transmedicalist mindset in general, that I think is harmful. The whole idea that you need severe dysphoria to be trans is absurd. Or that even the idea that you need any dysphoria to be trans is absurd, right? Like, that's just like an absurd idea. It doesn't serve any utility. It benefits nobody, all right? It's just a way of gatekeeping the trans community, which is the opposite of what we should be about, right? I mean, ultimately, I don't like, you appealed to what benefits you personally, but with that being said, it doesn't benefit you. And you're saying in chat that we could have talked about it. Well, we did. But you avoided every question I asked you. You went on side tangents to weasel your way out of every point I made. So we couldn't get this far, right? Because you wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me get this far in the discussion, right? But I shouldn't have to explicitly tell you that this sentiment is at the end of my dialogue tree. For you to be willing to, be intellectually honest with me. And actually, not be a weaselly sack of shit. Like, that should just be a given. So if this is what you wanted to talk about, well, sorry, too late. You shouldn't have been weaselly. You should have answered the questions I asked you. But ultimately, I'm not saying this as like a here are argument points against you even. I'm just saying if you genuinely want to be a good person, you are, let's say, if you're genuinely a good person at heart and you care about transsexual people, well, some might argue that I'm transsexual to an extent, right? I'm taking hormones now. I just started. So, maybe I don't look biologically female yet, but maybe I will. Maybe I grow massive bazongas, all right? Maybe I grow real wide hips. So, but that's not where I started, and I didn't know that and I was scared of doing it because I wasn't 100% certain. The reason I wasn't 100% certain that I wanted, but that's the thing is, I intuitively have always known, but it's like, again, the transmedicalist types make it seem like you have to be 100% certain. Like, if you don't literally have the urge to chop your dick off at all times, then you're not trans. That's what pushed me in the closet so far back. Now, that's not the only thing. I'm not going to blame transmedicalism solely. Obviously, the way society functions in general, obviously, wasn't very helpful for that either. But, if you want, and maybe I'm not going to say people like me specifically, because you probably don't like me very much, but, people with a similar form of transitioning, right? Similar transitioning for similar reasons, similar level of dysphoria to me, who become transsexual, let's say. Maybe they don't get bottom surgery because they don't care about that. I don't care about bottom surgery. I'm fine having a dick, right? But, but it's like, okay, well, hormones are, cross-sex hormones. I mean, you are changing your sex to an extent, right? You're transsexual to an extent, right? So if you care so much about transsexual people, then maybe don't say things that make them scared to become transsexual in the first place. The fact that you don't understand the irony of setting this weird, unrealistically high bar for who is and isn't allowed to be trans, you do realize that a lot of the people you're pushing away could end up being transsexual, and they haven't admitted it to themselves yet, and you're not letting them admit it to themselves. That's the problem. And, maybe you're not as bad as Blair White and Calvin Guerra, who absolutely pushed me back into the closet back in the day. Not that I was coming out anytime soon back then, but later down the line, it's like that transmedicalist mindset was just ingrained in my mind. Even at towards the start of my YouTube channel, even though I didn't ideologically believe in that, emotionally I did. It was like this fear, right? I thought, oh, I will get gender dysphoria if I go on cross-sex hormones, actually. Because I don't literally, because my dick because of the fact that that doesn't make me want to jump off a cliff. I must not be trans, and if I'm not trans, if I take cross-sex hormones, then that would give me dysphoria, right? It's this very binary view. That's the problem, right? But this isn't an issue with my worldview because it's fluid. There's fluidity to gender in what I believe because that is how it is. There is fluidity to it. It's not this black and white binary. It's not just ones and zeros, okay? There's like 0.5s and 0.7s and 0.66 repeating forevers out there, right? I had a similar dealio. Only reason I found out I was trans was because I was allowed to engage in gender nonconforming behavior before transitioning. Yeah, exactly. Living as the opposite gender for a while is literally a fucking requirement for starting your transition. You know that, god damn it. Yeah, exactly. It's like you might, and when you do that, you might not know that you want to ultimately have like a bottom surgery, even if you do eventually, or even cross-sex hormone. I thought that I was never going to do cross-sex hormones. I thought I would never do that in the past because I was, well, afraid. But then, getting therapy for other reasons and, working past my anxiety and doing things that are value aligned, I finally, well, got myself to, I guess, abide by my own standards in my own personal life, right? For myself and my own well-being. And finally took my own advice. And, I'm not 100% certain of the outcomes, but at the end of the day, I know that just because hormones are naturally produced, right, does not make them inherently any more desirable, right? So if I get to choose one, so if I didn't naturally produce hormones, right, and then someone offered me to either take estrogen or testosterone, well, I would choose estrogen. Even though I may not have literally have been on the verge of suicide due to gender incongruence, maybe that contributed to it, but that wouldn't be, I had other mental health issues too. It's like, okay. If someone thinks they're transsexual, I support them. Okay, but that's the problem. A lot of people who are transsexual currently didn't think they were transsexual when they started doing what they thought was cross-dressing. They started out doing what they thought was cross-dressing. I'm pretty sure Blair White, even, the notorious pick-me transmedicalist loser grifter, started out as a gay man who was cross-dressing. That's what she thought she was, to an extent. I mean, well, or that's how she presented herself, right? Now, she always knew that she was, well, a girl at the end of the day, from a very young age. But to an extent, so did I. I knew I was different, because I secretly wanted to, be a girl. It was like, I would think about things, like, I might not be a girl, but if there was a button, a magical button that could make me a girl, I would absolutely press it, like, in, like, 1 nanosecond, right? I would think things like that. Be like, what if there was a button that could do that? That'd be sick. But I felt obligated to conform to arbitrary societal standards, right? And I knew that a button like that didn't exist. Rose, I feel for being misgendered, but even after the debate, I cannot connect the dots that Femyoz's gender expression negatively affects you. Maybe it's hard to explain. I've just had many examples in my life that have made it very clear that femboys and drag queens have had a very... Well, the fact that you can't explain it is telling. It's because it's irrational. But your irrational worldview should not dictate how the world should operate. Okay? The world should operate, based on what maximizes utility and minimizes harm. If you ever want to talk to me about it, let me know. You had one job. Yeah, exactly. I talked to you about it, and you did a shit job. you embarrassed yourself, you know. Now, obviously, my audience is going to be biased in favor of me for the most part, right? You know, maybe there's a conservative or two that pop in, and maybe they agree with neither of us or whatever. But, you know, my core audience, the people that watch me the most especially, obviously they're going to be biased in favor of me. But you still embarrassed yourself. Not because they're biased in favor of me, but because you couldn't make a single argument. For me, part of it was always thinking about what it would be like to have a vagina, and then thinking that would be neat. And then when I hit puberty, it became clear my new brain chemistry was not working for me. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. And yeah, my depressions got worse when I hit puberty. Absolutely. But I didn't attribute it to gender. I thought that, oh, it's just hormones and stuff. Everybody gets more depressed when they hit puberty. That's just being a teen, because that's what everybody told me it was. Is, oh, your hormones will level out one day and stuff. I'm sure it's just temporary, hormone acting up. That's what everybody experiences with puberty, right? That type of bullshit. And what's interesting is with me. I guarantee you that if I was, if naturally I was like 6'5" and really hairy, I would have some of the worst gender dysphoria, right? But because I'm naturally a lot more feminine, I didn't have enough gender dysphoria to immediately know that I was trans, right? So it was enough to be an issue at the end of the day, but it wasn't enough to prevent me from doing mental gymnastics to convince myself that I'm not trans, right? Based on what you're saying, maybe you are trans and you're just being transphobic to yourself. If you want to be a woman, why don't you see yourself that way? This is part of the problem here. I don't see okay, first of all, I am above the concept of gender, okay? Categorically. I don't need to adhere to any boxes. I don't need the world to tell me, yeah, you belong to this box of people instead of this box of people. No. I can kick down the boxes, I can expand them, shrink them, move them around, create new boxes, have one foot in one box and one foot in the other. I can do whatever the fuck I want, alright? I am not bound by societal standards. Okay? I have moved beyond that. That is a very immature and, childish way of viewing the world. Just the world being a place where you conform to other people, right? I might be, and as much as people might make jokes about me being submissive and breedable or whatever, right? There's a time and a place for that, right? When it comes to societal standards, that's not the time or place, okay? When it comes to, someone, tying me up to their bed and doing really fun things, let's just say, that's the time and place, right? You said if you could press a button to be a woman, you would, and that sounds like being trans. Yes, but exactly. So you now acknowledge that I'm trans. But people like you are the reason that I couldn't even acknowledge it to myself, right? And I was all alone in that, right? Because even though I thought about that kind of stuff, I tried to hide it and repress it from the world, and I did. Nobody knew that I had those thoughts or ideas. From everybody else's perspective, the whole femboy thing came out of nowhere. Right? Other than maybe me making jokes about it, but I make jokes about a lot of things. But it was because I accepted I accepted gender fluidity, the concept of not being bound by gendered expectations as a concept. That was what allowed me to become trans in the first place. People that are, that were gatekeeping, I felt like I wasn't welcome. as like a trans, like I felt like, well, I don't have enough gender dysphoria to be trans, you know. I'm fine with having a dick, you know. I wouldn't mind having a vagina. It'd be it would be cool, I'm sure. But ultimately, it's like I'm sure it would be cool, but I don't think that it's worth getting bottom surgery for, right? It's like, oh, that would be nice. But all of the potential risks, complications, and you know, potential negative effects of it, or whatever could go wrong, it outweighs it for me. It's like I don't mind having a dick. Gender should be experimented and played around with until you find something that fits. This whole mentality is just so icky. It feels very NB exclusive and gatekeepy. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A lot of femboys end up being trans. But if you're fundamentally opposed to femboys existing, then you're just opposed to them having an outlet to find out who they are, to crack out of the egg, right? Have you like you can literally go on any femboy forum or like forum where it's like femboy advice, like specifically like I think it's like r/feminine boys specifically. Like I mean I haven't used Reddit in a while, but when I did, I would always see these posts of like someone being like, I'm not guys, I'm not a femboy anymore, or like this like title, it's like, oh god, were they like forced by their parents? Because I'm trans now, and like the thing, and then they describe how they came out as trans and how being a femboy allowed them to discover that about themselves, right? And then they're like, I'm trans femme now, but they wouldn't have been able to get there if they had your worldview, Rose. That's what you don't understand. Okay, just because you were able to get there, despite having your fucked up worldview, you know, doesn't mean that it's beneficial, or the worldview that will help trans people, right? If you had my worldview, that you would have become trans, just as trans as you are currently, right? Nothing would be different, right? You would have, whatever, come out as trans at the same time, or maybe even sooner, or probably the same time if your gender dysphoria is really severe, right? That's going to take precedence. But for people that aren't really sure or confident in themselves, that's not the case. I wasn't confident in myself, right? But, you know, because people were accepting of me simply cross-dressing, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, because I knew that that's what people were going to see me as no matter what, right? Even if it wasn't,